Okay, hello everyone. I'm happy to see you all here. And today we are starting this special event, the Challenger Developer live session. And today we have here Alexandre and Giuseppe. And basically, they finished the Challenger Developer mentorship. They had amazing results. Alexandre, he's working for an amazing company already, um, and he's bringing a lot of results to the company. He's very passionate, and Alexandre, you're very welcome to this special
You.
career session. And you can say a brief hi to everyone.
Hello, guys. I'm really happy that I finished this journey. I start definitely lost, but now I find my path and I can see the results. So I'm really happy that I made to the end of this. So thank you for your guidance and your support in this journey, Rafael. Thank you, Joseph, as well, to being around. I'm really happy to join this session.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for your words, Alexandre. And we also have Giuseppe here. Giuseppe is focused on Quarkus. He's been sharing amazing content in his YouTube channel about Quarkus. He has plenty of videos, more than 50, I believe.
30.
More than, yeah. He's been sharing his videos consistently. He every week he has a new video. He's doing a lot of contributions to the Java community. He's contributing to the microprofile initiative as well. So Giuseppe, you're very welcome and happy to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Rafael. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy for this session, but in a certain way also sad
Every week.
because it's completely a really great journey where I met a lot of great people like Alexander, Igor, also Bruno, and during this mentorship program, I learned a lot of things, and now I can see. And during the mentorship program, I saw really the results that during this session I'm going to share with you.
Perfect. Awesome. Really happy to have you here, guys. And I was just gonna give a brief explanation of this special session today. So first, we're gonna have the Challenger Developer talk, where we're gonna be talking about the career principles that will take your career to the next level. The second talk will be with the Java champion Bruno Souza, the Java man, always known as the Java man. He's gonna be talking about your career as well. So we're gonna have a lot of great content about your career. And after this talk, we're gonna have the talk from Igor de Souza, and he's going to be talking about Raspberry Pi and Java as another amazing talk. And finally, we're going to close this special event with Giuseppe's talk with an amazing talk about Quarkus and microprofile. He's going to be talking about the main concepts and principles of microprofile. So there's a lot of good content here. There's a lot for you to learn and to get better in your career. Okay, so I think we are good to go. We're gonna get started with the Challenger Developer talk, and I'm gonna start sharing my screen. And guys, if you have any questions, you can just write down your questions on the YouTube chat, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen here. Just a minute. Okay. So we're gonna be talking about the principles to boost your career. On the contrary, that most people think, it's not only technical skills that will make you grow in your career as a software developer. You have to also adopt some strategies that will take you to the next level. Before everything, guys, I ask you to take notes, because if you only listen to the talk passively, you won't learn much. So if you take some kind of action where you take notes, for example, you're going to be saying to your brain, okay, this is important. So if I take these notes, you're gonna be more able to remember the content, okay? So I'm gonna give you a brief of what we're gonna explore here. So we're gonna be talking about getting clarity. So what does that mean exactly? It means that you're gonna be knowing what to do to get to get whatever you want. There is also the no bugs step. We're gonna be talking about the how to learn quickly, and we're gonna be talking about some of the technologies that are relevant in the market. And then we're gonna be talking about how to boost your CV, because if you are highly skilled, but if you don't know how to sell yourself on your CV, you'll never be called for any interview. So it's going to be more difficult. So we're going to be talking about how to do some optimization on your CV. And then I'm going to be talking about effective communication. So how can you communicate in a way that you bring more value to your project, in a way that you can talk better, in a way that you can be understood in a better way. We're going to be talking about learning quickly. So what actions can you take to learn more quickly? And what else? We're going to be talking about how to negotiate your salary, because I know that most developers focus on the technical skills, but then they forget the essential skill of negotiating. And then what happens is that the companies have a lot more of capacity to negotiate. And then what happens is that the developer always loses in the negotiation game. So that's why we're going to be addressing this topic. We're going to be also talking a little bit about how to give talks and sharing your knowledge, okay? And Giuseppe and Alexandre will be talking about their experiences regarding those points and what exactly was useful for their careers. Step 1 is no procrastination. So this is the challenge 1, get clarity. So I know that many people usually get their dreams discouraged. Sometimes you tell a friend of yours that you have that ambitious dream, and what usually happens is that you get discouraged or you get turned off about your dream. So, and then you believe that dreams are impossible. But if you apply the right strategies, you can definitely achieve your dreams. It's not easy, it's a journey. It will take work, but it's totally worth it. So first of all, what are dreams? Dreams are different than goals. Dreams are a long-term goal. So for example, I always wanted to work in Europe, and I know this would take a while until I could get an opportunity in Europe. I was living in Brazil before, and then I got an opportunity here. But what I've done, I took the necessary actions. I got experience in the market. I worked on my English, and then this dream was possible to achieve because I had the necessary skills. And then basically, a dream is a long-term goal. It's something that is possible to achieve, but you have to take action. You have to be strategic, and you have to plan what are the actions you're going to take to get there. But how can you find out about your dreams? You can reflect. understand about your dreams. So what can you do? For example, you can take walks. This is a very powerful way. Or you can write down. You can do journaling. You can write down about your wishes, about what you want to have in your life. Because then, if you know exactly what you want, then you can take the necessary actions. Because, like I said, to achieve a dream is not something that happens overnight. You have to have consistency on your actions. Otherwise, it will never happen. There is a lot of work involved. But if you're really passionate and if you're really sure that you want that, then you're going to be motivated to do the work. And when you achieve one dream, there is always another one. So, for example, I achieved my dream to work in Europe. Now I have others. For example, I had the dream to have a property here. Nowadays, I have it. Now I have others. So you are going to achieve one dream, and then you're going to have others and others and others, and that's normal. Because when you achieve one dream, it's just one step, and we are playing the infinite game. It's never ends, right? Like, it's not like that you achieve one dream and then you stop. You can stop if you want, if that's enough for you, but you can always have another dream. You can give back to what you got. You can give back. You can help others. You can have different dreams, and then you can cause more impact in the world. Like I said before, a dream is a long-term objective, so it's something that will take time, will take work. And to achieve a dream, the only way is to have consistent actions. So I gave you an example already. Before getting a job here, I was every day studying English. I was having courses. I was studying a lot of technical subjects. I was getting experience as a software engineer. So the action is required. And what are the dream killers? Sometimes you have so many plans that if you have so much complexity, what usually happens is that you're going to take no action. And what's going to happen is that you're going to procrastinate. Another very common cause of not following your dreams is when you want something perfect and you never release anything because you want it perfect. I'm going to give you a practical example. Let's suppose you want to start to write articles, or if you want to start creating videos, but you just want perfection. What's going to happen is that you're going to procrastinate forever. So you never release any video, never release any article, because it won't be perfect. So you have to be used to the idea that whenever you're doing something new, you're going to suck in the beginning. So that's the mindset for you to take action. So don't worry if your videos, your content doesn't have a good quality in the beginning, but for sure, if you follow the process, the quality will improve. So don't think that you have to do everything perfect, mainly in the beginning of your journey. So when you have many plans, you usually don't know where to start because there are so many things that you have no idea. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to study. You have no idea what action you should take. So that's why it's so important to have focus and know exactly, okay, I want to do that. And then you can build something meaningful. When you have no daily habits, you also you are far less likely to achieve your dreams. So if you have powerful daily habits that is taking you closer and closer to your dreams, that's better. Excuses like when you say, oh, I have no time, oh, I have no money, oh, I didn't have a good education. Oh, I don't know. There are so many excuses. There are so many stories we tell ourselves, and then we say, okay, this story makes sense, so therefore I won't take action. That's usually what happens. You don't take action because of your story. So if you're telling a victim story for yourself, and if you don't take leadership of your career and your life, what's going to happen is that you're going to be in the infinite cycle and lying to yourself, lying away, or maybe even believing in your victim story to not take action. So the excuses are the story we tell ourselves to not take action. So you have to first to really believe that you can achieve your dreams. You have to change your mindset. And I didn't believe in myself in the beginning of my career. I thought that I would never be able to give a talk. So I'm no different than you guys. I'm not, I didn't start giving talks all of the sudden. It was a process as well, because I didn't even believe in myself. I thought that I was too technical to give a talk. And I thought that I would never be able to give a talk. And it wasn't only myself. The others didn't believe in myself as well. So, but I went through a process until I changed my mindset. So if I can give a talk, you can also give a talk. Because other than that, I didn't believe in myself, and I'm also an introvert. So it's a lot of challenges, but that's why I always say to break your limits. I broke my limits, for sure. Otherwise, I wouldn't be giving a talk here. So you can do the same. And limiting beliefs. I had the limiting belief. I said, I'm too technical. I can't give a talk. Or I don't know. I had many limiting beliefs that I couldn't do something. For example, I also broke my limit when I started having, I know it's not even related to career, but it's connected to limiting beliefs. For example, I thought I was too nerd to do a dancing class, but I started doing a dancing class, and nowadays I dance. I dance well. So limiting beliefs is only in your mind, and you can break them if you want. It won't be easy, but it's worth it. Okay, so how can you find out about your dreams? You can ask yourself, what would be amazing for you? So let's suppose, you want to be financially free, you want to live in an amazing beach where you have an amazing view from the window from your house. You want to be causing a big impact for in other people's lives. So what exactly do you want? What exactly is your dream? So you have to think and reflect about it. So what can you do? Like I said, you can have walks, you can write down about your dreams, you can talk to others, you can talk to someone who you trust, and then you can just discuss about dreams. Because when you talk, you also get some clarity of what actually is your dream. So reflection is a good technique for you to notice and realize what is your dream exactly. And then find out what are your passions and motivations. So what do you like to do? You like to produce code? You like to talk about business? You like to deal with people? What exactly motivates you at work? I like to write code. I like to solve problems. I like to figure out a way to cause an impact to the project. So you have to find out your passion and your motivations. One way to get clarity about your goals is to write down about your personal life, professional, and financial life. So we don't have much time to wait here, but you can maybe after this talk to just write down what is your personal life goal. So when I say personal goals, I talk about having a family, or getting married, or buying a new house, or moving to another country. This is personal goal. Professional goal, for example, you want to work for a big company, or you want to work with an amazing technology. What is your professional goal exactly? And financial, of course, how much do you want to earn? It's important to write down these goals, because if you write down the number, then your subconscious mind will work to get this number. And the final question, what is the ultimate level you imagine yourself? You can write it down. Even if you don't have a clear vision, it will help you to have more clarity of what you want to be. I can also talk about create smarter goals. So before creating your goals, you have to develop yourself on the journey. So what is that? You have to develop your inner self. So how can you do that? You can, for example, very simple action you can take. You can read personal development books. This helps you a lot to develop a better mindset, a better way to think, a better way to see the world. And you can also go to conferences. You can talk to highly motivated people, because those people will help you to be more motivated. They will open your eyes for better things. So you want always to try to hang out with people who are better than you. But not only that, you want to hang out with people who will lift you, not people who will knock you down. So that's really important, because if you are with people who are knocking you down all the time, what's going to happen is that your energy will be drained, and you won't be able to produce high level value to the project you're working for, or to in your life in general. And whenever you're doing anything, play full out and go all in, because if you play full out, then you can grow. If you are doing something in not putting your full energy, you won't grow so much. And success, guys, starts within yourself, not outside. So what does that mean? It means that you have to work on yourself, and you can't depend on others to say, oh, you are nice and so on. No, it's your journey, and you have to work on yourself and not rely on others to say that. Because if you work with on yourself, what's going to happen is that naturally you're going to be admired. But if you are focusing too much on the external, what's going to happen is that usually you're going to get frustrated, and you will be weak, very weak. So you always start within, like you work on yourself first. Okay, so I learned that with Robin Sharma. I highly recommend his content. So there are the 4 interior empires that are basically health sets. So be healthy, do exercises, and eat well. So why is it so important? Because without health, you can't do anything, right? You can't do your work. You can't live well. It's so simple to do exercises, and you don't even need to do boring exercise. You can do exercise that you enjoy. So if you like martial arts, you can do a martial art. If you like to play some sport, if you like to play football, you can play football. And eat well. You don't need to eat. You don't have to have a crazy diet. You can drink, I don't know, at least 2 liters of water a day. You can eat some vegetables. You can avoid junk food. I don't know. You can eat junk food sometimes a week, but if you eat it very often, of course, you will be unhealthy. So basically, to be healthy is just a matter to have a balanced diet and to do exercises regularly. Because even if you grow in your career, and if you're able to give massive value to your audience, if you don't take care of your health, what's going to happen is that you probably won't live long enough. So what's the point of doing a lot of work and causing a lot of impact if you don't take care of your health? So health set's the most important one, because without health, you can't do anything. Then there is heart set. So let go disappointments from your past. So what you can do to accomplish that, you can maybe go to you can do long walks, you can go to therapists, you can do yoga, you can do whatever you want to work on your heart set. And of course, guys, all of those steps here, they are process. They don't happen, I'm doing exercise today, therefore I'm healthy. No, it doesn't happen like that. So it is a process on all of those 4 interior empires. But if you are able to work on those 4 interior empires, I assure you that you're gonna achieve very high level of success, because then you have clarity, and then you are also mastering yourself. When you master yourself, you know exactly what you want. Soul set. So soul set, maybe one thing you can do is to live for a cause that is greater than yourself, a cause that will help many people. Or maybe you can get more involved in your religion, or if you don't have a religion, I don't know, you can do something that will bring you peace. You can do meditation, for example. And mindset, how can you improve your mindset? By reading personal development books. There are so many powerful books that I read and I read that makes all the difference. One way I recommend you guys to do is to read audible books. So how can you do that? You can use your commute time, the time that you think that are dead. You can multitask. So, and then you can read a lot of books. I read more than 100 books just by doing that. And eliminate limiting beliefs. Because if someone already made it, you can also make it. And there are many examples from many people who brought a big impact to the world. They weren't perfect. They weren't the most intelligent. They weren't the most skilled. They had the motivation to do the difference, to make the difference. So you can do the same. And also, don't say negative things about yourself. So, because if you do that, you're going to be programming your mind for failure, and you don't even notice that. So you have to be careful. Instead of programming yourself for failure, program yourself for success. You have to train your mindset consistently. So what can you do? You can read personal development books. You can talk to motivated people who will lift you up. Then you have to avoid people who are toxic, people who will be complaining about everything. Because if you're around those people, you're going to become a toxic person as well. Okay, so how can you create smarter goals? So I'm going to give you an example from me here. So what did I do to get a job in Ireland? So the actions I can take, I can send CVs to companies in Ireland. I can take 15 minutes every day to do that. I can go to LinkedIn, Stack Overflow, and do it. From every 10 CVs sent, gonna have 2 opportunities, and this means risky, time keyed. I'm gonna do that for 3 months and see what happens. Exciting, feeling alive. I'm talking in English, getting to know other cultures are for relevant. It will change your whole life. If you go to another country, your life will change dramatically. And also take action, guys. Here, I created also the Challenger Developer Planner. I can send to you the link for this CSV file. And you can just make a copy of this file for you. And then you can create your own plan, okay? So that's it. I talked here a bit about focus and about getting clarity. And Giuseppe, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience, about focus, and how that happened, how that helped you in your career exactly?
Yeah, fine. So this helped me a lot because when I started the mentorship program, I didn't have, let's say, a focus and clarity on what I wanted for my career, and this will impact also my the decision that I open a YouTube channel. So in the beginning, I was thinking to study everything, okay, related to software development. And the same way, I started to share everything on my YouTube channel related to software development, from Java to Node until Angular, React, pretty much everything. But I really realized that I needed a focus and clarity on what I really want to be an expert, okay, in my career, and also this one will reflect on my YouTube channel. So during this mentorship program with the help of Rafael, I got clarity. So I really talked to myself to understand exactly what I wanted, what I enjoyed, what I really enjoy right now. And because of that, in my company, I started to work with Quarkus. I really like this framework and everything that is around this framework, meaning that the cloud native, cloud, and stuff like that. So for my career path, I got clarity, so I want to go all in on the cloud career path to become a cloud software engineer first, cloud software architect, and this one is reflecting also my YouTube channel, because I started to share knowledge also on the related to the cloud native and with Quarkus right now, but in the future I'm going to move also on Azure or Docker and technology around that. Because of that, after the session, I'm going to show you my YouTube channel, my focus phrase that I really, now it seems very simple, helping Java developers to go cloud native, but to achieve and to wrote that phrase, it took me really 5 months, because I changed focus, and this one is not something that you can have overnight. There is a process behind that. So this one exactly the results that I achieve, and now I can see, and I learn from the mentorship program.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience, Giuseppe. If you want, guys, you can answer to the audience on the YouTube chat while I giving the talk. So I wanna continue in the talk here. I'm gonna share my screen. Window, Chrome tab. Okay. So we're going to be talking now about how to learn quickly. So how can you learn more quickly? You can understand the big picture. How can you do that? You can, for example, check the table of contents from books. Because then if you have the big picture of whatever you want to learn, then it's easier, because at least you know the full scope of the technology you want to learn. Another way to check the big picture, you can check on Wikipedia, for example, or you can search for quick tutorials on YouTube. Nowadays, you can find anything on YouTube. You can do any course. You can learn any technology on YouTube. So this is a powerful way for you to learn about anything you want, and write down the important points from the big picture. So, for example, let's suppose you want to learn Docker. So what is important for you to be useful with Docker? Maybe you want to create a Docker image, you want to create a Docker Compose file, you want to Dockerize a Java project with database, and you want to deploy this container in the cloud. So you have to define the scope. For example, let's suppose you want to learn Java. So you can create something useful. You can create a small application that will create, update, delete, and read a register, for example. And then you define an approximate time that you can accomplish that. So you can, for example, define, okay, in 3 months, I'm going to be able to develop a small project that will do those basic things, and define more or less how many hours you will take to get it done. Another example, define success goals. So if you want to learn Docker, like I mentioned, you can containerize a Java application with MongoDB. You can deploy a containerized application in the cloud. You can also containerize a Node.js application or a Python application or whatever the language you want. Create a Docker Compose file, and you can run a Dockerized Java application in the cloud. So those would be success goals for you to be useful with this technology. Another very powerful way to learn better, you can diversify your learning resources. So for example, you can learn from books, from articles, from tutorial videos, from online courses. You can talk to people who already know what you want to learn. You can listen to podcasts, you can read source code, you can read online documentations, you can do pair programming. There are so many ways. And if you the most ways you do here, the more you learn, because then you can connect the dots. Let's suppose if you are reading a book and then you see the same concept in a podcast, for example, and then you just connect the dots and then you say, okay, I understand now how that works. Step 3, no holding back. Boost your CV. So firstly, guys, you have to understand what the market wants. For example, nowadays, every company is working with microservices. Therefore, you have to have at least a basic notion of cloud computing. So first step, understand what the market wants. So if you have very old technologies that nobody cares anymore, it's going to be more difficult for a company to be interested in your CV. So we have to think, okay, what technology I can add here in my CV? And figure out what are the hot technologies. So like I said, the cloud technologies like containers, AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure, or what else? Infrastructure as code, like Terraform, or automation tools like Jenkins or GitHub Actions. All of those things are very trendy, and you should at least know what are those tools. Of course, still your core skill is coding, is how to create a code solution for a business problem. That will be always your core skill, but those peripheral, those other tools that will help you to deliver your software with quality, you have to know what they do, at least. And then you aim your CV to what the market wants. LinkedIn nowadays, guys, is crucial. Nowadays, many of the companies are only hiring on LinkedIn. So choose strategic keywords on your LinkedIn. For example, if you want to get a job with Java, put the keyword Java there and put your biggest highlights on your LinkedIn profile title. So for example, if you are a senior developer, you put there that you're a senior developer, or if you wrote a book, you put, that you are a book author. If you anything that you cause impact, you put there, and then you can separate those this information by a pipe, for example. Then there is a focus session on the about a session of your LinkedIn. Then you put there what is the most important. For example, companies want to know how many years of experience do you have. This is very valuable. The more years of experience, the better. in theory, you would be bringing a lot of value. So years of experience is highly valuable. Put the highlights of your career there. Include, like I said, the years of experience that you have, because then the companies will value more. Photo. So it's useful, guys, if you can hire a professional photographer, and then you can take a photo where you are smiling, because then you can bring trust for whoever is checking your LinkedIn profile. So that would be useful for you to hire a professional photographer. You can easily find a professional photographer close to where you live. And then you can pick a technology t-shirt, a smart shirt, whatever you are more comfortable. Ask for a recommendation. So one strategy I use, I give a recommendation to someone first, and then what is likely to happen is that this person will give you the recommendation back. So you give the recommendation first, you don't expect anything back, but you can also ask, oh, it would be nice if you could give me the recommendation back, because if you get the recommendation back, then you have more social proof that you are a good professional. Challenge 5, negotiating your salary. So this is very important, because to negotiate your salary, negotiation is not something that developers think about. And what usually happens is that the companies take advantage of that, and they negotiate with you a low ball offer. So the first step for you is to figure out how much you ask. So where can you find this out? You can take a look at Glassdoor.com. The problem in the Glassdoor.com is that many people lie about their salaries. So it's not precise. The salary in Glassdoor is not precise. So what's going to happen is that you're going to see the salary in Glassdoor, 30, 40% less than the real salary in the market. So be careful with Glassdoor. It's not reliable. Glassdoor is useful to see how is the interview process, but for salaries, it's not reliable. You can ask your friends. This is reliable. If you ask a close friend what is the salary of your friend, he or she will probably say the salary. So then you can understand better the market. Because if you don't talk about salary, if you don't talk about money, what's going to happen is that you're going to be in a weak position against the market. The market will use that against you. Ask recruiters. They might not say the truth for you because they are also negotiating with you. So be careful, but you can also get a gist. You can get some information with them, so you can try. But just be careful, because they are always negotiating with you. So if you give the number first, they will negotiate in whatever the number you gave to them. Look for opportunities on LinkedIn. For example, you can use brute force as well. You can talk to many recruiters, and you can say, okay, I want you give them a crazy high value, but not as crazy that they will say no for sure. You try a high value that you think it's a good one, and then you can give more and more and more and see where this value goes. Then you can use the brute force and see the market value. Okay, and then to make the company give you a good number, a good salary for you, you have to drive your value up to the company's eyes. How can you do that? You can show maturity on your way to communicate. You can show that you're highly skilled, so you can talk about your experiences, what value, what results you brought for the company. Show the value you can add to the company as well. So for example, if they are migrating a terrible monolith project to the cloud, you can talk about your experience. You can say, okay, I worked with this terrible code, and I built a much better project where it was scalable and so on. You can talk about your skills in a way that you're going to bring value to the company. One very important concept, don't review your salary. Why? because the moment you give your salary, the whole negotiation will be based on the salary you gave. So that's the biggest mistake developers make when they are negotiating their salary, and that's the most obvious question they're going to make to you, because it makes the process so much easier for them. And what happens is that if you give your salary, you're going to be in disadvantage automatically, and your salary will be, I don't know, 15% more than what you're earning. Like, you can have more than that if you're lucky, but usually you have something like that. So if you reveal your salary, you already lost the negotiation, because if, let's suppose you can give a lot more value than your current salary, the whole negotiation won't be negotiated based on your skills, but it will be based on the numbers you gave. So be careful with that. Alexandre, do you want to talk about that in your experience?
Yes, for sure. So I came from a family that we believe that the companies are fair, and what they offer for you, it was like, get that and that's it. And in my career, I was wondering how my colleagues and coworkers are getting so much better offers and opportunities than I was. And the mentorship brought this problem to the spotlight. I never had the skill of negotiate my salary. I never learned about that. And in mentorship, it was a game change. It was like turning on something. And after that, my whole experience with this changed. I learned that I have to know the rules of the game and I have to play with that. And it's not a shame to do this. It's part of the game. It's fair, as there is for the companies, also for us developer. And we have to take the best we can from this opportunity to bring value to our life. So it was a great experience. After I finished the class, I got some really good offers, and I was able to change the game, like to be in favor of my perspective.
Exactly. So as you said, Alexandre, it's a game. It's a game for us, and it's a game for the companies, and they play it well, because they're always playing this game of negotiation. We, at the other hand, we are not playing that all the time, so they are obviously in advantage. And if you don't have any knowledge of the basics of even the essence of negotiation, you're gonna lose, and you're gonna lose badly.
Yeah, that's true. And we don't study that, so.
Yeah, we don't study that. Nobody teaches us that. Okay, so awesome. Let's continue. Communicate effectively. So why communication? If you can't communicate, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens. So you have to learn the communication skill. It's what Warren Buffett says. One of the most powerful people in the world. So what is the process of communication? You send some message, then there is some encoding, and your message will be decoded by someone else. In this encoding and decoding, there are different cultures, there are different understanding, there are different meanings for the same word from the sender and the receiver. So the communication process is usually complex. There is usually noise, there is the traffic noise, there is the background noise from people talking. So there are a lot of things happening during process of communication, and you have to make sure that your message was delivered successfully. One very simple way to make sure that your message was sent successfully, you can ask the receiver for feedback. And then if the receiver says to you, okay, that's what you said, and if you notice, okay, that's it, then that's a great way for you to pass your message in a clear way. 10 tips for effective communication. You can present yourself well. So how can you do that? You can wear nice clothes. You can have a nice appearance. You can introduce yourself. You can also ask for the name for the other person. You can have a nice and pleasurable conversation. So another thing is to have clarity on the topic. So if you're talking about something that is meaningful, you keep on this topic, you don't change it. And you talk about this topic in a clear way. You don't need to use complex words. You don't need to use, you don't need to make it complicated. You can make it very clear. You can use a language that everyone would be able to understand. And focus on the topic. So if you're talking, for example, about career, you stick to the topic. You don't go off the topic, because if you go off the topic, you're going to be showing disrespect with your audience. So if you're talking about career, for example, stick to the topic, and then people will get more value. Deliver the message effectively. So make sure your message was delivered effectively. How? You can ask for feedback. Your body language, you don't need to stay like that, like stay in a way that you are straight. You don't need to be very straight, but can be relaxed. Stay in a way that you can show confidence when you're talking. Another thing, check for understanding. So whenever you say something, ask for feedback and make sure that your message was delivered successfully. Ask appropriate questions. Don't ask questions that are off topic. Ask questions that make sense from whatever you are trying to communicate. Actively listen. So very few people are able to do that. People are usually very anxious to talk, and they want to talk. They want to be listened. They want their opinion to be heard. Their ego is always very, very inflated. So be careful with that. If you're doing this game, you are in the average game. Instead, the most powerful way for you to, in the long term, is to be an active listener. So understand exactly what the other people are saying. Don't be the person who have to have their ego inflated. They have to talk. They have to have the louder voice. They have to, their idea always have to be followed. So don't be this guy, because then in the short term, this might work. But in the long term, usually it won't work, because you're playing with the external when you're doing that. It's not within you. Okay, so Rick, and always when you're talking about something, you recap, you talk about everything you talked, because then people are more likely to remember whatever you said. And then you close. So for example, whenever you're giving a talk, you close the session by asking, okay, do you have any questions? And then you can close the session. So Alexandre, do you want to talk about this step in your career and how it helped you?
Sure. So I started an IT, and man, my focus was definitely tech stuff, technology, frameworks, and all that, because I believe that my job was sit in a cubicle and code and deliver value from that. Learning that communication, it's a must skill in nowadays, was a game changer as well, because we are every day sharing ideas, sharing decisions, trying to convince our colleagues that our solution is the best. And communication makes that easier. Communication makes the team go further and help you in your career. It's a boost, because you can go into a point with your tech stuff, being a great developer, but after a point, you must be able to communicate, to show your value, to show how good you are, how skilled you are. So communication for me, it's as important as is all the tech skill that we learn in today's world.
Awesome. Yeah, that's true. If we are able to communicate well, we can influence people, we can convince people, and we can help a company to go to a better route. For example, we can make a good difference. And
Yes.
yeah, I always thought that that technology was the only thing I needed, but it wasn't true. So awesome. Okay, so let's continue then. I'm gonna share my screen again. Okay, step 4, no hiding. Share your knowledge. So why should we share? Because if we share our knowledge, we get the best job opportunities, the job opportunities that won't even go public. So it's the opportunities that someone will find your talk and they will say, man, you are perfect fit for this opportunity I have here. And they're usually the best opportunities, high-level job opportunities. And another good reason to share knowledge is that your communication skills will improve. And by sharing your knowledge, you're going to solidify your knowledge as well. Because whenever you're giving a talk, you're always filling out the gaps. And sometimes you think you know that topic, but usually you don't know a lot. You only know a lot about this topic when you share your knowledge. When you share knowledge, you also have a lot of growth as a person, and it's always very fulfilling. So it's fulfilling to give a talk and to help others. And find your focus. So with your focus, you have less competition, obviously. This standard, this pattern to create the focus phrase was shared by Bruno Souza. So for example, I help people, you could help, I don't know, software engineers, you could help Java developers to write high quality code or use the best programming practice so that they can get a better job or a better opportunity in their careers. So if you create your own focus phrase, it's easier for you to share your knowledge, to do your stuff so that you can get more results. My focus phrase, for example, helping Java developers to master the core concepts of Java to code quality software for stress-free projects with fewer bugs. You can also create a plan to action. So, for example, if you want to create articles, that's a great way for you to give back to the community. You can create around 20 content titles. For example, if you can create 20 titles for your articles, and then by doing that, you will have content and ideas to share by almost half a year. If you considering that you're gonna share your content every week, you would be having content and a blog post for half a year. That would be great. Learn how to create tantalizing titles, because if you create a boring title, nobody will read your article. So you have to know how to create an interesting title. There are some content on the internet you can read, for example, the Headlines Hackbook. How often you should create content? Consistency is key. So if you define that you're gonna share your content weekly, you stick to this consistency, because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is that you're going to lose traction. So consistency is key if you want to share your knowledge. So let me recap here what we explored. Before that, Giuseppe, do you want to talk about your experience by sharing your knowledge?
Yes, sure, Rafael. So the sharing knowledge was the most useful session during the mentorship program for me, because as I already said, I decided to open a YouTube channel. So I had to learn how to share. And before that, I share knowledge, but in a different way, meaning that without focus, without clarity, and without consistency. So I was just created one video each, I don't remember, 3 weeks, something like that. Instead, right now, I publish and create one video every week. Try to share it also on other social media in a certain way where I can highlight the fact that I can help others to achieve something. in my case, help other to learn Quarkus in order to achieve something, meaning create the cloud native application. And this one, it's during the mentorship program, I really learned and discovered this, and I put action on it, and I really saw and seen great results. And it's also the sharing knowledge, Rafael, if I may, it's really linked to the effective communication. So because before sharing knowledge, you need to understand, you need to be a listener in order to understand exactly how and to who share your knowledge.
Exactly, Giuseppe. Yeah, you have to communicate well, because otherwise, if you don't have clarity on the topic you're talking about, what's going to happen is that nobody will understand you, and then you won't have traction. You won't cause maybe any impact, because if you can't communicate well, you can't share your knowledge. Awesome. Let me just recap here the content. Okay. Awesome. So recapping here, so we talked about how to get clarity. We talked about no bugs. So we talked about how to learn quickly, how to boost your CV. We talked about effective communication and how important it is for your career. We talked about negotiating your salary, because if you don't know how to negotiate your salary, you're going to negotiate a lowball offer. We talked about how to share your knowledge. And that's pretty much it, guys. And since you finished, you are here until the end of this talk, I'm offering this special promotion for you. So you're going to get here, you can get the Golden Lessons book that is currently €10 on Amazon.com. And if you get the Golden Lessons book here, you're going to also have a special career conversation with me that I will help you to get clarity of the next steps you want to achieve in your career. And if you are an experienced developer, if you are someone who is motivated to go to the next level, you can just join me on this one. I can send you the link for this career conversation, and then you can get the Golden Lessons book. So the Golden Lessons book is the mindset book I created, and I invested 2 years of my time on this one, and I put the knowledge of the experience I had to achieve my dreams, and everything I learned from the best books I ever read. So this book has the essence for you to take action and to go to the next level. So all of those things, the career conversation plus the Golden Lessons book, is going to be only $3.90. So you can get this opportunity now, and then you can have this conversation with me. And if you have any questions, feel free to send your questions on YouTube. Okay? And any questions, guys, about your career, about anything you want to talk about? You can send your questions. I see one question here. One good resource for Spring and Spring Boot. What else? I have only this question. So if you don't have any questions, soon Bruno Souza will give the talk here. So you will just stay tuned for more. Any questions, guys? Yeah, Bruno Souza is prepared here. So if you don't have any questions, I will allow Bruno to start his talk. And Alexandre, Giuseppe, thanks a lot for being here with me. It's a pleasure for me to have you here. And it was really good to also help you here, guys, talk about career and to help you to go to the next level. And now I'm going to allow Bruno Souza to start. And you have anything that you would like to suggest the guys here, Alexandre and Giuseppe, any words that, any advice for their career that you would like to give to the guys?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you. Thanks so much for the journey, for all the insights, for everything that you have done for us in this mentorship. Appreciate your help and your guidance. Second, get all the talks that you learn here, apply in your life, and definitely going to be successful. And I highly recommend you to get the book. I got the book like some time ago, and it's like reading all the amazing authors of self-development in one place. That's going to blow your mind away. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Alexandre. You, Giuseppe?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rafael, for this really amazing journey. I learned a lot from you. Thank you so much for your patience. Each time during this mentorship that I sent you message on WhatsApp related to it's good auto share. Can you repost this tweet? So thank you so much. And yeah, the book is great because by the way, Rafael, I discovered you from this book because I found the book on Amazon. I read the book and then I discovered you as an author, and start from that, I start to follow you on the Java Challenger blog, on Twitter, ended up with a mentorship program. So the journey, my journey started with that book. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for your kind words, Giuseppe. I'm really happy. And it was always my pleasure to support you guys and to help you. So I appreciate that you were so engaged, and you are so engaged, and you're very motivated to grow. So that gives me a lot of motivation to help even more developers. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm gonna put Bruno on the spot here. Bruno is already here. Let me.
Hey,
Bruno is here.
Hey, Rafael. So good to see you, man.
Great to see you here, Bruno. It's a great privilege to have you here. And I'm gonna leave the show with you.
How are you doing?
Hello, Bruno. Can I take a
Bruno.
picture with me and Bruno? Yeah.
Come on, take a picture, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely, and share that on.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Yes.
Yes, awesome.
Let's be ready and beautiful.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go. Now, thanks.
Awesome.
I can't change that. I can't look beautiful, unfortunately. So.
Okay. So awesome. Good idea to take a picture from us, Giuseppe. Now, Bruno, the show is yours.
Hey, everyone. So, first of all, I really think you guys should listen to what Rafael is doing, right? So, I always talk about Rafael and how he's amazingly consistent, right? And so I think this is one of the most important thing that we want to talk about career is, consistency, right? Consistency is one of the things that will make a big difference in your life, right? So I think that's what Rafael does very, very well. And I'm always amazed on how consistent Rafael can be doing his initiatives and doing his blogging and his videos and all of that. And I think this makes such a big, big difference in career, right? But what I'm here is to have a conversation with you, right? So I see BJ and Java Journey and Alexandre and Vinod and Chandra, right? Can I just call Chandra? Afalabi, right? So I want to hear what is, this is supposed to be a conversation, right? So I want to hear from you what questions you have, what situation you're going through in your career right now. So right on the chat here, tell me, what is the big situation you're going on in your career? What's the difficulty or the challenge, right? Since we're here on the Java Challengers. So what is the challenge you're facing in your career right now? Yes, Chandra, that's good. So Afalabi says, what project can a Java developer do to increase his skills, right? So Afalabi, first of all, we have to understand how to increase his skills, right? So that is a great question. And how to increase the skills, right? So how can we talk about a project on increasing skills if you don't know how to increase the skills? So skills, right, have 3 rules of skills, right? I call those the F3, right? So those are the 3 rules of skills, right? Rule number 1, right? You have to, actually F3 works in Portuguese. Just realized it doesn't work in English. That's interesting, but I call it F3 anyway, right? Let me see if I can change that, right? Okay. So rule number 1, right? So let me just kind of do rule 1, 2, 3 here, and then I'll think of a acronym later on. But rule number 1, you have to do it, right? There's no other way, right? So skills are actually, hey Carlos, good, awesome. Yeah, so I want to tell me your situation in your career so I can help you out, right? So first rule of skills, you have to do it. Why you have to do it? Well, skills, we kind of think that skills are like, things that I know, right? And it's just kind of things that I learn how to do. But really, the reality is that skills are biological, right? Skills are based on, the neurons you have in your head, right? So if you don't activate the neurons, right, nothing's gonna happen, right? So the only way for you to grow your skills is to activate the right neurons, right? If you don't activate the right neurons, there's no building of skills, right? So guys, this is very, very important. Once I learned that, it completely changed my life, because really, I'm not sure about you. Maybe you never thought about how you acquire skills. Maybe you never thought about how your brain works, right? But once I understood that skills are actually physical changes in your brain, right? Your brain has this thing here, little, you might remember that from our biology classes in school, right? You had what we call the myelin shaft, right? So it's an insulation by myelin, right? So skills are equal myelin, right? The more myelin you have in your neurons, the faster your neurons activate for that particular skill, right? So skills, you have to put myelin in your neurons. If you don't do, nothing happens, right? So you have to do it. Doing things equals to activate the right neurons and increase the myelin in your neurons, and your neurons can get up to 100 times faster. Have you ever imagined what is 100 times faster, right? We call it magic, right? That's what we call the guy Magic Johnson, the biggest, the top basketball player in the history, right? Why? Because it's magic, right? Once you do that, if you don't do, then you don't activate the right neurons. And let me tell you one thing. This is very important, right? Because a lot of developers, we kind of think that we can read books, that we can, watch talks like this one, and our lives magically change and we magically learn something. That does not happen. Why? Because for you to grow your skills, you have to activate the right neurons. And the right neurons, if you read a book, for example, is reading a book, which neurons do you think you activate? The reading books neurons or the doing softer neurons, right? You're activating the reading books neuron. I mean, of course, there's something in it, right? Those neurons are all connected, right? So there's a little bit of activation of the doing softer neurons, but you mostly activating your reading books neurons, right? So you got to do whatever you want to have skills with, right? Okay, so Afalabi, you have to do it, man. So that you're right about this. So what project can a Java developer do to increase his skills? So that's very, very good. So you have to activate the neurons. You have to do things, right? So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, that's very important. You have to force it, right? If you don't force, look, your brain tries to save as much energy as possible, right? So there's no reason for your brain to put myelins in the neurons if the neurons are working just fine, right? No, let's say here you have a neuron working 10 times, right? And you do it and you get right. You do it, you get it right. You do it, you get it right on the 10 times neuron. Why are your brains going to make this neuron faster if it doesn't need to be faster, right? So you have to force it. And let me tell you one secret. Forcing is making mistakes, right? If you're not making mistakes, you're not forcing, okay? You have to be beyond your capabilities, right? So then once you force it, your brain's like, oh, no, I'm doing too slow. I'm making mistakes still. I got to be faster. So your brain is going to put more myelin in your neurons, and your neurons can grow faster and faster and faster. So you have to force it. Now, third rule of skill acquisition, it has to be frequent, right? That's why it was 3 F's, because in Portuguese, do it is fazer, is F, right? But anyway, so I'm gonna say D times F2. All right, that's my new acronym, I guess, right? Okay, so that's the rule of skills, right? D times F2. All right, so then you have to be frequent. Why you have to be frequent? Because look, guys, this is a biological process. You know, it only happens when you're doing it, right? So if you do once and then a month later try to do it again, and then a month later try to do it again, your brain's like, oh yeah, I know this is not no need. That's not important enough, right? So you have to be frequent, right? So more important, daily, right? If you're going to do daily, that's how you get 100 times. If you're going to force, that's how you get 100 times. If you're going to be doing, that's how you get 100 times, right? And I'll tell you one thing, guys. Someone that has neurons 100 times faster than yours, man, that person puts you in like way behind. Think about it, right? We are right in the middle of the Olympics right now, right? You see the difference of an athlete, right? And let me tell you one thing. We might look at the Olympics. I know once I learned this, right? I'm looking at the Olympics differently, because you might look at the Olympics and say, oh yeah, this guy does a lot of exercise every day, right? But look, guys, the exercise is important. Of course, having muscles is important for the Olympics, but every single movement from the athlete starts where? Here in the brain. It starts in the neurons, right? So every movement, if you're swimming, every single movement, it starts in the brain. So the athletes have to have the right neurons very, very activated for them to be top performers in the world. And the difference between you and an athlete, it's zero, right? You have the same brain, right? And, you have to put myelin in the same places. But for you, it's software, it's development, right? That's where you need to put your neurons, okay? So it's the same thing, right? And by the way, we have muscles in our hands, right? So you have to improve your typing too, right? It's part of the process. All right. So now, what projects can Java developer do to increase the skill? Now, once you learn this, so that's why I prefer to teach you the basics, right? Then to give you the answer, right? So now that you know this, Afalabi, right? You have to do it. You have to make mistakes, and you have to do it daily. Now, which project can you do, right? Well, projects that makes you make mistakes, right? Project about things that you don't know 100%, right? That you might know a little bit, but not 100%, right? And, because you already said you're going to do it, right? So that's the first thing, you got to do it. And then you do projects you don't know and you don't understand very well. So you use technology you don't understand very well. You use language that you don't understand very well. You experiment with Java features that you don't know very well. So you go force yourself to make mistakes. And then you do daily, right? So you join a project or you start a project where, it's something that forces you to daily do something, right? It's better 15 minutes a day than 4 hours on the weekends, right? 4 hours on the weekend, it's not very good. 15 minutes a day, it's better than 4 hours on the weekends. Make sense? So that's what you got to do, right? So now you know the rules of skill acquisition, Afolabi. I'm sure you can think about projects that you can do that's going to be interesting enough for you, because look at this. If the project's not very interesting, are you going to do daily? No, you're not, right? So it has to be an interesting project for you to do daily, right? And then it has to be an interesting enough project that if you make mistakes, you don't give up. Because look, guys, the problem with mistakes, that when we make mistakes, we want to give up. We feel stupid, right? We feel an imposter because we don't know what we're doing, right? So if we make mistakes, we give up, right? So we stop doing it. So it has to be an interesting enough project that will force you, that will get you to do and overcome the mistakes, right? Make sense? All right. Yeah, Rafael saying it's a very special opportunity. Thanks a lot, Rafael. Ask your biggest career questions. Yes, please do that. Ask your biggest questions. Exactly. Let me say here. What else? Thanks, Alexandre. Alexandre said Bruno's talks are mind blowing. Thanks a lot, Alexandre. This is important, right? Because once you understand, right, what skills are, then it's a lot easier for you to go after them. Make sense, Afolabi? Right? That's what you need to do, man. Go find an interesting project that you want to do daily. Find an interesting project. If you make mistakes, you're going to be okay with it, because you want to start keep pushing for it and go do every day, right? Because that's the important part. All right. So Chandra asks, as a Java developer, Carlos says, work with legacy code, right? Some advices. All right. Okay. So for me, Carlos, the most important thing for you, if you're going to work with legacy code, right? So first of all, I think we have to remove the stigma of legacy code. Okay, Alexandre? A lot of people are like, oh man, I'm working with legacy code, so that's terrible. It's going to be terrible for my career. Or, I need to work with new stuff all the time. Well, so let's rethink legacy code, right? Legacy code is anything that's been done already, right? So the Java class you wrote yesterday, it's legacy code, right? Anything you've done, it's legacy, right? It's there. Now it has to be supported, right? And so you will spend more time in your life dealing with legacy code than dealing with new code, right? That's a reality. That's because look, when you use a library, you're using legacy code, right? When you're using a framework, you're using legacy code. When you're using Java, right, you're using legacy code, right? So you're going to deal more in your life with legacy code than with new code, right? And and it's a great life, guys, to look, think about it. Lots of people want to do new stuff, right? I want to start from scratch. But come on, man. When you start from scratch, right, there's so much work to do until you get to the nice stuff, right? So isn't it much better to go solve the big problems, right? So that's why we get an open source framework, for example. That's legacy code right there, right? And then we build our software on top of that. Why? Because we want to do the interesting stuff. We don't want to be doing the same thing that other people already did, right? Lots of people, can you imagine just kind of on a blank screen, nothing, the project, just start the first class, right? How many things you got to do until that thing does something interesting, right? So legacy code, guys, is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I understand that for you to handle legacy code, Carlos, you have to have some humility, right? What do I mean by that? I mean that, you look at legacy code, right? And the first thing you imagine is like, oh man, those guys could have done differently. Oh, if I had done that, right, I would do much better, right? That's lack of humility, right? When you think, if I had done that, I would have done better, then you're like, you're putting yourself on a pedestal, right? Because you don't know when the code was done. You don't know what the situation of the people are doing. You don't know how fast they had to do. You don't know how lack of knowledge they had at that moment, right? So imagine, would you have done that better 10 years ago, for example? Right? No, maybe you would do worse, right, than they did. So humility is looking at what other people did and looking at other people as better than you, right? So, oh man, those guys did it. There must be a reason why they did that. So then, once you have some humility, you can look at the legacy code and say, okay, this is what I have. How can I improve it? Because my job on a legacy code application is not to redo everything that other people did. It's to improve it, right? To make it better, to make it more readable, to make it more maintainable, to make it more modifiable, right? That's my job in a legacy code application, is to improve it so I can keep improving the code. It's not to replace everything, right? Unless there's a project to replace everything, that's a different thing, right? But, so that's my thing, Carlos. I think that you should approach legacy code with that. And look, the most important skill, we talk about skills here, right? There are a few skills that are very important for developers. And the most important skill is what? Read code, right? Read code is the most important skill for a developer, right? Read code. So you, Carlos, have a new amazing opportunity to go read code, go read what other people did, right? Go read it. Go learn from what they did. Go learn the good things, the bad things. It's good to read, to learn the bad things, right? When you look at a code and you know what's bad about that, that's a good understanding, right? It's you improving your learning. It's you improving your ability to look at code, right? So that's very important, Carlos. So don't shy away from those opportunities, right? You might want to do new code. That's great, but you're going to have to reload code. Lots of people say, Bruno, how do I participate in open source? How do you participate in open source? Be humble, right? Be humble with what? With legacy code, because every open source project is legacy code, right? So be humble, right? Go read code. That's how you participate in open source, right? So I think that's great skills. And there's another awesome skill, Carlos, that you need as a developer, is to refactor, right? What is refactoring? Refactoring is improving the code without changing its functionality, right? So you improve the way the code, you improve the readability, you improve the maintainability, you improve the modificability of the code. You improve the code without changing functionality. That's what refactoring is, right? Now, you can and that's one amazing skill. It's amazing. So look at legacy code and say, okay, I'm going to approach this legacy code and I'm going to practice the two most important skills for development. I'm going to practice reading code and refactoring code. Awesome. So now you can look at legacy code with a different strategy, Carlos. All right. Let me see here. What are the questions? How much knowledge should they have? So Chandra asked about knowledge that he has, right? And then he asked about overcoming imposter syndrome, right? Oh, Afolabi say, thank you, Giuseppe. So, yeah, okay, all right. Okay. Rafael needs to put my name here somewhere because I didn't say my name anytime. I'm Bruno, right, by the way, right? I'm Bruno Souza. You can look BR Java Man. Rafael, can you put my name here on the corner here so people know who I am? You look me for BR Java Man on Twitter, right? And we're gonna be together. All right. Okay. So let me tell you one thing here. Chandra asked two questions about knowledge, right? And how much knowledge should you have and how to overcome imposter syndrome. So Chandra, let me tell you this. I see two possible situations for a developer. Either, okay, so first let's think about what imposter syndrome is, right? So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome, Chandra, is that notion that you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I have no idea what I'm doing. And I have no idea what I'm doing. And so, man, I feel bad, right? I feel terrible because I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like an imposter. Any moment now, someone's going to walk through that door there and say, hey, Bruno, you don't know what you're doing. You are an imposter. That's what imposter syndrome is, right? Is the fear, right? Of someone finding out that you don't know what you're doing and that you are an imposter. So that's what imposter syndrome is, Chandra. Now, think with me a little bit, Chandra. When you're doing something new, do you know what you're doing? No, you don't, right? Neither do I, right? So that's the problem with software development. We are always doing new things because if we're doing old things, we're just copy and paste, right? We don't need to do anything. If we don't need to do anything new, we just copy code that we did in the past and paste in the new project, right? So we're just going to do copy and paste. So there's no chance, right? That so that's the only way for you to do things that you know what you're doing is if you copy code or if you're doing the same project over and over, right? So Chandra, our profession is a creative process. Oh, thanks a lot, Rafael. Yeah, it's missing an at there, right? Actually, you just had to okay, forget about it. Okay, that's good. All right, so basically, we are working on a creative industry. Every creative industry, Chandra, we don't know what we're doing by definition, right? If you are an inventor, if you are, if you're writing a book, if you are a writer, right? If you are a movie creator, right? If you're doing a painting, right? Every creative industry requires you to do things you don't know, right? Make sense, Chandra? So there's no, you're always going to feel like you don't know, Chandra, because that's the reality, right? That's the reality, Chandra. It's the reality of, I don't know what I'm doing. That's exactly how it works. So now there's two ways for you to overcome that, Chandra. One is understand that you're always going to feel like this and like the feeling, right? Because you can like the feeling. You can like the idea that you don't know what you're doing, right? And, that's what the Java challenges are all about here from Rafael, right? Is that you liking the idea, you putting yourself in challenging situations. That's one thing. Second thing is, the second option is for you to be bored all the time. You just do things that you know, and then you're always bored. So I see developers. That's why lots of developers ask about imposter syndrome, because the way I see most developers are either, Bruno, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over. I can't stand that anymore. I'm bored. Or they are, Bruno, I have imposter syndrome. I don't see developers in the middle, right? It's either one. Either I'm bored of doing things that I already know, or I'm afraid of not doing things that I don't know. So just pick which one you want to do. Okay, Chandra? That's how you overcome imposter syndrome, right? You have to understand how it works, and then you gotta just live with it. Unfortunately, man, I don't have another advice unless besides live with it, because that's the only thing we gotta do, right? So I see new people showing up. So hey, Natalia, hey, Alexandre, hey, VJ, hey, Shinaka. That's good. All right, good evening. All right, okay, good. Now, Chandra asked it before. He said, as a Java developer, how much knowledge we should have on other technologies like Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, when we are working on cloud platform? Look, Chandra, I don't know. It's not being a Java developer, right? So, look, you are a Java developer, right? But Java development is a tool. Java, Chandra, is a tool. Docker is a tool. Kubernetes is a tool. AWS is a tool. you're not a Java developer, Chandra. I'm sorry about that. You're not, right? The thing I say all the time, and you know, people that are here with me last week, for example, I'm sure saw that already. But when you say that I'm a Java developer, right, it's the same way there's a carpenter come to my house and say, Bruno, I'm gonna fix your roof because I'm a specialist in hammers. You don't hire a specialist in hammers, Chandra, to fix your roof. You hire a specialist in fixing roof to fix your roof, right? So same thing, man. I don't hire a Java developer to work on my Java program, right? Why? Because my Java program does something, right? I hire a specialist on finance applications, right? I hire a specialist on performance, right? Because those are problems. You, Chandra, you should not be a developer of tools. You know, you should not be a specialist on tools. You should be you should not be a specialist on hammers. You should be a specialist on problems. All right. So think about that, Chandra. And once you know, Bruno, I'm a specialist on cloud. Do I need to know Docker? Do I need to know Kubernetes? Do I need to know AWS? Yeah. Right. Do I need to know Java? Yeah. Right. Yes. Right. So the answer is yes. But now, how much Java should I know? How much Docker should I know? How about Kubernetes? Depends on what problem you solve. Right. So if you're a specialist, Chandra, in, you know, so for example, I was talking today. I was talking to a guy that's specialist in solving problem, you know, putting applications for startups, creating MVPs for startups. Does he need to know Docker, Kubernetes, and AWS and Java? Yes, he does. He needs to know all that. Does he need to know all that in depth? No, he doesn't. Right? Why? Because his job is to do an MVP. That's what he does. He does an MVP for one company, then move to another company, does an MVP, move to another company, does an MVP. So he doesn't need to know everything about Docker, everything about Kubernetes, right? He just needs to know enough about Docker, Kubernetes, Java, and AWS to put an MVP up. And then he moves to another job, right? So you, Chandra, should be a specialist on solving problems. Once you're special in solving problems, then you know exactly what you need to learn, all right? Okay, so let me see here. So by the way, thanks, Rafael. So guys, I'm BR Java Man on Twitter. So go to Twitter right now and follow me because we have some awesome things going on this week, right? Next Friday, a week from now, we're gonna run this awesome event that Rafael is gonna be a speaker there. You should go there. We have 8 or 9 Java champions participating, lots of community leaders. It's going to be an awesome event. Actually, let me do this. I will open up. Okay, let me do this really quick here. So, oops, sorry. Career day. All right, so let me just kind of really quick give you guys here the URL, right? So you guys can come here and join me. Rafael, I'm just going to share for a couple of minutes my tab, right? So we can share here really quick. So I'm just going to invite you guys to, can you put this in the show, Rafael? Thank you very much. All right, awesome. Okay, so I just want to show you guys. So this week, we're gonna run the Developer Career Day, right? It's August 6 and 7, next Friday and next Saturday. So if you're here Saturday, you can come here next Saturday. Rafael's gonna be there. He's gonna do a career workshop, the Java Challenge workshop. So August 6 presentation discussions, August 7 practical workshops. It's completely free. Look the amazing speaker, right? So Kirk Pepperdine is a Java champion. Rafael Delgado is right. He is a Java champion. Jennifer is the leader of the Java Champions program, right? So many cool people here. Heather Van Coor is the head of the JCP. So many cool people here who's going to be a speaker there next week, right? So I would invite all of you to come and join this event, 100% free, right? It's a lot of very, very good talks about career. So here is the date and the URL. So just go join this this event right now. So you just kind of click on that URL. I'm gonna put the URL. I can't put the URL in the chat. So only Rafael can put the URL in the chat. So, but I'm gonna put the URL here in the private chat. So maybe Rafael can do that. So it's a Dev Career Day, and it's HTTPS careerday.dev. All right, so that's the URL right here in the chat. Rafael can put that. Okay, guys, so join this there. I'm gonna be there with you, and I'll see you there. And follow me on Twitter. We're gonna discuss a lot of those things here in the next few days on Twitter. All right, so that's enough. Let me just stop here. Okay, let me go back here to the questions then. So, all right. So thanks a lot. Let me see here. Okay, so where's the, can you give some tips on how to gain visibility in your local cyber city community for a shy person? Hey, that's an awesome question, VJ, because I'm a shy person, right? So we are together on this, right? I have a lot of difficulty with dealing with people, right? So now for you to, and I just wrote a book, and I talk about how to be a speaker, being a shy person, right? So that's part of what I wrote in my book. And look, VJ, you don't need to be a rock star, right? You don't need to be like an amazing speaker to help people to gain visibility, right? Because speaking, VJ, is not about how you speak or what you speak. Speaking, VJ, is about what people do once they hear you speaking, right? So I do think that being a shy person, it's even better to gain visibility than to be an outspoken person. Do you know why? Because when you are a shy person, you do like I'm doing here, VJ. Instead of just coming here and speaking to you, I'm listening to you. You speak first, right? I'm here. You ask the questions first. And now that you ask the question, I want to say something about it because I know something about it, right? So, VJ, a shy person can listen very well. And the best skill for a speaker is to listen. So go listen to people, VJ. You stop wanting to, you don't need to say a lot immediately. Go listen to people. So there is a story from Nelson Mandela, right? Nelson Mandela is probably one of the biggest leaders in our history, right? Everyone consider him a leader, right? So Nelson Mandela is like one of a top leader. And he has a story that he says that he learned leadership with his father. And you know what his father would do? His father would sit down in a council of leaders, right? And he would listen to everyone, and he would be the last one to speak, right? So that's a great skill, guys. It's very hard to be the last one to speak. Very, very hard. But it's a great skill. And it's skill that shy persons have, right? Because you're shy, you're just waiting for everyone to speak, right? So when everyone speak, you say, I want to say something too. Now, when you speak last, VJ, you have the advantage of having listened to everyone else, right? Now, the problem with the shy person, VJ, is that while everyone else is speaking, you're not paying attention. You're rehearsing your heads what you're going to say. You're trying to think ahead of time. Oh, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. So when you're thinking about what you're going to say, you're not listening to people. And then when it gets to your time to say something, you say something that some other people already said, right? And that's bad. So now instead of you thinking ahead, trying to think about what you're going to say, just listen. Listen. And then when it gets your time, you know what everyone else said. So you can say, okay, so I'm going to get what this guy said and what this guy said, and I'm going to join this together, and I'm going to do this. And so that's how we're going to do, guys. I'll know the solution to our problem, right? So just, so that's a great skill. And shy people, VJ, are awesome in doing this, right? So if you're shy, that's not a bad idea. Now, since you asked about Shy. Yeah, this is a complete link. Okay, yes, awesome. Yeah, that's a direct link, right? Koreaday.dev. Thanks a lot, Rafael. So I'm gonna, if you're shy, what I'm gonna do is really easy, VJ. Go to BR Java Man right now. If you go to BR Java Man right now on Twitter, right, you're gonna see my pinned tweet. My very first tweet is a tweet of an ebook about how you can be a speaker even if you're frank shy, right? If you're a very shy person. So go to my Twitter right now, VJ, and win a free book. And just go there and you can get a free book right there, because I wrote a book about how to speak even if you're shy. Okay, go there right now. Okay, so let me say here, hey, Ro, thanks a lot, hey, Ro. Okay, let me go back here to the questions. Lots of questions. I'm jumping here. Okay, so Alexandre, Bruno knows a lot about IT and life, and you can see in your talks. Thanks a lot, Alexandre. Can you share 2 or 3 books about IT and from life everyone should read? All right, so yes. Let me think about 3 books here. So there's one that I like a lot. That's the name is This Book Will Help You Write Better. That's a good book, right? I think everyone should know how to write. Writing is very hard for me, so I'm always looking for ways to learn how to write. Writing is a very, very, very important skill, right? So this book will help. I think the title is more or less like this. This Book Will Help You Write Better, by a guy called Neville Medora. That's a great book. A second book, it's a book that explains this thing here that I think is very valid, right? Is The Talent Code. You as a developer, you really, really, really should understand the talent code, right? Because you should understand this here that I wrote, right? You know, it's amazingly important. We developers, the main organ in our lives as a developer is the brain, right? So the talent code explains you how your brain works, and that can change your life if you understand that. And the third book I'm going to suggest, Alexandre, is a book called Give and Take, right? Because it's a book that talks about communities, right? And why communities are important. And I think those books are awesome, right? Are they IT books? They're not. None of those books are IT books, but they're life books, right? All of these are great books. All right. How important are, so I just have a few minutes, so let me just kind of run a little bit here. How important are the software design principles like solid and design patterns these days in microservices where you can rewrite the whole app in 1-2 weeks? Yeah, VJ, look, those skills and principles are extremely important, right? They're extremely important because they're the basis, right? You know, it doesn't matter that you can rewrite the application in 1 week, right? But, you know, those are the basic skills for development. So, you know, look, microservices, we kind of think, oh yeah, microservice, right? Yeah, but microservice sit on top of a bunch of things, right? If you don't understand a bunch of things, you're lost, right? So I'm not saying that you need that to get started, right, VJ? I don't know exactly what situation you are in your career right now, but you don't need that to get started, right? You don't need that as a junior developer. But yes, they're still very, very important because they're going to give you the basis for you to do lots of things. Now, with that said, right, if your job is to write simple applications in 2 weeks and then move to something else, maybe you don't need those things, right? Because maybe someone else in your team is thinking about those things. So you don't have to think about that. So that's okay too, right? You know, you can be a specialist to write code very fast, to solve small problems very fast, and just kind of move from place to place doing that very fast. So that's good. You know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. So now you should ask that question, VJ, in the following situation. In the problems I want to solve, how important those things are, right? Because they might be very important for you and not very important for other people, or not very important for you and very important for other people, right? So in the problems you're trying to solve, what exactly those things are important. So if you really I think they're very important for senior developers, right? So if you want to be a senior developer, you have to understand how things are done, right? And so you're going to need those things. But if you're just starting and all you're going to do is just kind of write an application 2 weeks, probably that's not very needed. So can you help me understand steps involved in moving from dev role to architect role? Okay, man. So if you're moving from a dev role to architect role, you need to know those things. All right, that's simple, right? If you want to be an architect, you need to have the skills of an architect, right? And what are the skills of an architect? The architect understands architecture, right? So yes, you're going to need those things, right? So what are the steps? Look, the steps for you to move for another role is for you to find in your role right now, find things that are going to help you improve these skills for your next role, right? Look, guys, everything, it's all about the skills. The most important thing you're going to do is about the skills, right? So what does it mean changing roles, right? Changing roles means the following. You have this set of skills here, right? You have this set of skills, okay? In your role, you're dev, right? When you move to an architect, you need those 3 other skills here, for example, that you don't have, right? So you have to find out what are the extra skills you need, okay? So then you say, okay, so I need those skills. So how do I learn those skills right here? So how do I learn those skills today in my job, in my position? You don't wait until you get a new position to be an architect. You bring those skills here to your dev position, so you learn them right here, and then you get the next position. All right? So that's how you do every time you want to move to another position, right? You learn the skills. So now you have to look at yourself, VJ, and say, okay, so what are the architect skills that are necessary? So just Google, guy. Google and say, what are the architect skills? And so, IBM has a great article about a bunch of architect skills. Look at those skills and say, which ones do I have? Oh, I have this one here. I have this one here. I have this one here. Those are the ones I'm missing. So how do I do those skills missing in my position right now? Okay. And you can always put yourself in a position, VJ, to do that, right? You can always, for example, you can go architect your own application. You can go architect an application for your soccer club. You can go architect an application for your Dungeons and Dragons group, right? It doesn't matter, right? Whatever you can start gaining the skills where you are right now. Make sense, VJ? All right. Who else here? Can you please give tips on how to get started with open source contribution for beginners? All right, Aditya. Okay, let me just see. Yeah. Give and Take book, the Talent Code book. Yes. All right. Okay, good. And there's one more. There was one more. This book is going to help you write better. That's the name of the book, right? It's something like this. But if you search for this book is going to help you write better, you're going to find it. All right. Okay. All right. So can you please give tips on how to get started with open source? Guys, think about you, right? You're doing your project, right? Let's say you're writing a code for your Dungeons and Dragons group, right? So you wrote this nice application. Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is a game, right? It's the mother of all games, I guess, right? So so Dungeons and Dragons is a very famous role-playing game. And so you wrote the software for yourself, right? You wrote for you, right? You wrote this nice software about Dungeons and Dragons. And then someone comes along and say, hey, Bruno, I'm going to help you. Let me get your code here, and I'm going to do some changes and send to you. Would you like that? Would you like someone to just come here and say, hey, Bruno, stop doing what you're doing. Let me just go and fix whatever I want to fix here. Let me just kind of change your code around. Let me fix things, whatever. Let me move your code. Would you like that? No, you would not, right? Now, if you if someone comes to you and say, "Hey, Bruno, that's a nice code. Can I take a look? Is there something I can help you with? Is there some small things I can do to help you?" You're gonna say, "Yeah, man, come here, help me out." And then you would give him some things to do. And then after a few weeks, you're gonna, man, you can do anything you want, right? Because you've been helping me so much in this project, right? So here's the secret to get to open source projects. You start small, right? Anything. Do anything that's small. That's why people say documentation testing, because they're small, right? But whatever it is that's very small, very, very small. How small, Bruno? Fix one word. Yeah, fix one word. Very small, right? Be humble. But Bruno, I can do better than that. Yeah, I know you can do better, but start small. First thing. Second tip, do things that no one else wants to do. Why? Look, because if I'm doing my Dungeons and Dragons software here, and there are parts of the software that I don't want to do, let's say I don't want to do the maps, right? For me, I like the other side. I like the monsters part, right? But I don't want to do the maps. And you want to do the maps? I'm like, yeah, go ahead, man, do the maps, right? Because I don't want to do that. So go find things that no one else want to do, because then you get important. You become important for the project, right? So that's why people say documentation testing, because no one wants to do documentation testing. So documentation testing is an easy way to get into. Why? Because it's small and something no one want to do. So you can do that. So go find things that no one wants to do. Go find things that are small, and that's how you get to any open source project. Okay. All right. What advice you have for an architect and software engineer that has been working Java for the last 10 years with a few Python and now is facing a cloud data science project with 30% Java and 70% Python? I don't see a problem, man. What's the problem there? I don't see a problem, right? Look, that's great that you know Java, right? That's great that you know Python. I mean, you know Java and Python, and then you're mixing those two things. That's awesome. I think that's a lovely position. You know a lot of Java, a little bit of Python, and now you have a project that's both Java and Python. Awesome, man. That's great. Go do it. Yeah, put yourself out there and go do it, man. That's it. But Bruno, I don't know Python enough, so go practice a little bit of Python, right? Go read codes. If the project is already 70% Python, go read that code. Become very good in reading that code, right? Get your cell phone, right? Put pieces of your code in your cell phone and take it home with you, right? And go, when you're in the elevator, keep reading the code on the elevator, right? If you're on the car and the light stops, take your cell phone, read the code, and keep running the code in your head, the Python code. Yeah, look, that's not a problem, man. Why is Python so important on data science? Because of the libraries. Go read the libraries code. Go read, man. Go understand the code you're doing. That's my advice, right? The more you understand, because you're a developer for 10 years, right? So everything you know about Java translates back to Python, not the syntax, not the libraries, but your knowledge of software development. Okay? So yeah, just go do it, man. I don't see a problem with anything that you said here. Maybe you see a problem. So if you see a problem, let me know. All right, guys. I have time for one last question. Is there one last question? Rafael, what is your question, man? Come back here. Let's talk for 1 minute before I have to go. Because I want to talk a little bit about Rafael here really quick. Where are you, Rafael? Come back, man. Hey, my good friend Rafael. So,
Hey,
guys,
Bruno.
let me tell you this guy here, right? When I met this guy here long ago, right? We start working together. We start working, and I told him, "Hey, Rafael, are you in São Paulo?" "Yeah, I'm in São Paulo." "So come to Campus Party." Remember that, Rafael?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
So Rafael went there to Campus Party. It's a crazy event, guys. It's a huge event. 8,000 people camping. 8,000 people camping for 7 days, right? So Rafael went there with me, and we met there for the first time, and it was such nice. And then I told Rafael, do you know what is it? What do you know? And he said, oh, I love design patterns. I remember that, Rafael. He said, I love design patterns. I said, can you give a talk about design patterns? He said, I never gave a talk in my life. I said, okay, so prepare a talk about design pattern. He said, I can show code. I said, that's good. And I told him, just start your talk. And said, Bruno, where? Am I going to have a stage? No, you're not going to have a stage. Just start right here in the corridor. And he's like, who's going to watch my talk? I said, if you start speaking, people are going to come. And so Rafael started speaking. I invited 2 people to come and to start watching. And then more people came, and I just kind of laughed, and more people. And then when I left, Rafael was there on his first talk with about 15 people behind him, looking over his shoulder on his computer, and he was explaining design patterns, right? So why I'm telling you this, because the only way for us to acquire skills, guys, is to do it, right? And it's to force, even when you make mistakes, that's not a problem, right? And you have to do frequently. Rafael presented that first talk many, many, many times during that week, right? So you got to do it. And one thing I want to say about Rafael is that Rafael was very courageous, right, to accept my challenge right there. And at that moment, I think Rafael created the Java challenges, right? He did not know about that yet, but at that moment, he was facing his challenges. And that's the message that Rafael gave me for all this time that I know Rafael, many years that I know Rafael now. He always told me, it's a challenge, but I'm going to do it. So if you're following this guy here, if you're working with him, if you download his book, buy his book, join his mentorship, because this is the guy that's going to help you face every single challenge. Rafael, thanks very much for this opportunity. Thanks a lot for being such a good friend. Thanks a lot for getting people to face their challenge. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Bruno, and thanks for talking about this good moment I had, this amazing historic moment. And you're right. I started giving the talk there. I didn't even have a lot of confidence in myself. I just started doing it, and I just accepted the challenge. And like you said, a lot of I could get the attention from people, and they enjoyed. So very important advice. If you want to start giving talks, start small and do it even if you make mistakes, because you make mistakes for sure. Accept the challenge and be a challenger.
That's right. Perfect. So Adia say, great, thanks. Java Journey say, nice. I think Java Journey is Gabriel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Okay, guys, thanks very much. Rafael, thanks a lot for the opportunity. It was awesome to be here with you. Thanks everyone for all the questions. And is there anything I can help you? Ping me on @BRJavaman on Twitter. And I'm going to help you out with your career. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks everyone.
Yeah. Thanks a lot to Bruno for being here. It's a privilege for us.
Yeah, it's a privilege for me too.
And an honor.
Anytime you invite me, we're gonna be on this together. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks a lot to Bruno.
Bye.
Bye. So guys, follow Bruno Souza @BRJavaman, and also get registered for the amazing career event that will happen the next week. So I will send to you the link again. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring Igor de Souza here. So hello, Igor, how are you, man?
Hello, how's it going?
Great to see you here. And Igor is gonna give a talk about Java and Raspberry Pi, right, Igor?
Right.
And then you can learn a bit of Raspberry Pi with Java, which will make your learning easier. And I'm really happy to have you here, Igor. And you want to say hi to the guys quickly?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity again. Yeah, so thank you. We will talk about Raspberry Pi from Java to DataStream. We'll try to go a superficial vision about what is a Raspberry Pi, how it works. You can use Java, you can do data stuffs on the top. And yeah, I hope this help you in a kind of a test environment for starting your skills, improve your skills.
Awesome. Just to let the guys know, I already watched some of the talks from Igor, and it's really amazing. He even did a talk with IoT where he makes car racing move with code. It's so awesome.
I will show something today similar.
Oh, nice! I'm looking forward to it. So, guys, it's a very interesting talk that will blow your mind. It's really, really cool. I highly recommend you guys. So I'm gonna let the show to you, Igor. And
Thank you. I shared the screen already, I guess.
Yeah, you can get started. Okay.
So hi guys, my name is Igor de Souza. Thank you, Rafael, for the opportunity. Thank you for the introduction. So I don't see my screen. I think you guys, no, here we go. So I'm a current software engineer in a data engineer team. I have a lot of experience in software development and big data and a lot of time in the maker area. So IGFA Souza, you can find me on all social networks. I think Rafael will put it on the bottom as well. So yeah, today I want to talk about Raspberry Pi. I put the name from Java to data stream. So I will try to cover everything regarding Raspberry Pi, Java, and data stream process. So first, let's start with the basic. What is a Raspberry Pi? Raspberry Pi started in 2012. And when the Raspberry Pi released, they advertised themselves as the smallest computer around the world. Of course, this evolves for the longest of the years. There is a lot of versions. So currently, the last version is the Raspberry Pi number 4, has 8 gigs of memory and things like that. And then we have the Raspberry Pi's different prices. So Raspberry Pi 0, it's around $5, and the Raspberry Pi 4 with 8 gigs is around $70. So you have a lot of boards in the middle. Raspberry Pi is a full computer, so needs a operational system. You have kind of a SD card that you install the operational system and where you run things. The Raspberry Pi Foundation provides the Raspberry OS, usually to be Raspberry. They rebranded the name 8 years ago, 1 year ago, and they already released the beta version for 64 bits. And of course, because it's a Linux open source, you can install Oracle Linux, CentOS, Ubuntu, and a lot of other options. There is Windows versions as well, and there is Android versions, so you can play with a lot of different technologies and things like that. The Pi OS, the official one, 64 bits and 32 bits, came with Java 11 already, so then you can use Java. And then that is the Raspberry Pi, the number 4. You have the options 2, 4, and 8 gigs. And you can see that there is, anyway, HMI, camera slots, processors, and things like that. USB comes with Bluetooth and internet, Wi-Fi, and things like that. And then on the top of the Raspberry Pi, you have the headers that we call GPIO, generic ports, generic platforms or ports, import and output data, input and output data. And then each ports do different things, and you can plug and play stuffs on the top. So you can put sensors, you can put LEDs, you can combine with IoT devices and things like that, and then do crazy stuff. And then the Raspberry Pi has the concept of hat. So hat is something that it fits perfect on the GPIOs. So then you don't need soldering, you don't need to touch anything. And then this way you have a plug and play another device. So you have heads for LEDs, you have heads for sensors and things like that. And for use the heads, for use the GPIO with Java, we have the Pi4j project. So Pi4j project is a lib that you can import in your project, and then you can control the pins of the GPIO in your Java program. So then you can use the energy, you can start sensors and things like that. And because you can put it's already with Java, but you can install any other different Java versions, you can use all the Java's projects around. You can combine with JavaFX, do some graphics, some interface. You can use JBang and do some scripts. You can combine with JRelease and any other jars that you can find. You can do web development, Spring, Quarks, Micronaut, Vertex, or Ellendon, or whatever. You can even Microsoft gives a VS Code IDE, but you can find easy way tutorials how to install Eclipse or IntelliJ or any other options. Yeah, and of course you can use GraalVM. So put GraalVM, use it even with the other technologies. You can do R, Python, and JavaScript on the top of GraalVM or not. You can, on the 64-bit operational system, you can put GraalVM, you can generate native images, Micronaut, Quarkus, Spring, all them has the concept of native images already. You can use OpenJDK, you can combine with IoT, so you can install any MQTT broker or server. Of course, you can combine with Kubernetes as well, Dockers and Kubernetes. There is the Micro 8S, and the K3S, the catch-up version. It's a highlight version of Kubernetes specific for Raspberry Pi. There's thousands of possibilities. And of course, you can go for big data platforms. You can do for data stream platforms. That is what I want to focus here. So Apache Spark, Apache Flink, Apache Storm. You can even install Hadoop. You can do Hive. You can do Pig. You can do Hummer. You can do Graphs. You can do crazy data structures, and you can do data Kafka as well, and RabbitMQ, and you can combine everything. You can do a cluster. You can combine several nodes and run everything. So I'm going to show a demo of things that I created, and I'm going to explain about the scenarios, and I'm going to try to give some possibilities or some ideas, things that you can do. So the first one is this Java application here. That is a Duck, just with a servo motor. So then I move the arms of the Duck. And of course, you can, I think I can play again. And of course, as you can see here, the idea was a red and a green flag. And I was trying to create the alphabet with flags and things like that. Anyway, it's a really simple idea. You can find on my blog. I will find me on social network. All the things are there. So the second one here is a LCD. So this is a web application. It's based on Spring and TimeLeaf framework. So just a simple web application. It's nothing fancy. It's just a bunch of HTML and CSS, a little bit of JavaScript that I created the thing. And I create a picture of the frame. And then this is generating my LCD. So just a small demo. So that one is a Quarkus using quite visual stuff. So then you can turn off and turn off the LCD. So this reflects on the real time. So you can turn off, and then this was in a real display as well. Another one here is kind of similar. That one is 4x7 segmented display. Here I'm doing the front end and Quark in React. So I have a combo box that I choose the specific region. I get the data from that region and I show. So it's small things. So this one is Micronaut with velocity. So you press on the screen and then the head on Raspberry Pi follows the screen. So that one is using Javelin, and this is Rainbow Hat, so I can type 4 letters in an input text box, and then the 4 letters appears in my display. And I think the last one is Ellendon. So that one I have the 14 segments display, and it's the same idea. So more than that, so here is, now that you see some ideas, you can create the components that you don't have. For example, a potentiometer. A potentiometer is that you can round and change the values. So if you don't have one, you can create a virtual one. So here I create in Vertex kind of a web application that you have kind of a way to choose values between 0 and 100. And I use this value for control the luminosity of my LEDs, so increase and decrease. So you can do this with other components as well. Create a virtual one components when you don't have it. So this is using Vertex example. So, and then I have another one using cloud provider. Here is Oracle Cloud, but can be any cloud providers. So here I get data from the clouds, and I show in a fancy dashboard. So I have number of instances or number of things that I have in the cloud, VMs, network, and things like that, dashboard in real time. And anyway, you can create with different technologies. So those are the examples that make sense for me, but you can use this with any other technologies. You can use this with Kubernetes, you can use this with Java, you can use it with JVM, you can use it with GraalVM, you can JBank, you can mix everything together. But more than this, you use the Java and you use the Py4j for read the things and combine with the IoT stuff and sensors. And you can do data as well. And you can do data stream. So for data stream, we have Kafka, we have RabbitMQ, of course, we have several other options outside. So this is the picture most popular or most common that people use to explain data stream. So you have the event stream at the top, a data structure that stays in memory that you can call whatever you want, a pipe, array, or things that you can append. So the events came, and then you append this on the event stream. You have kind of a list, a pipe, or array. And then you have the sequence, you have the date, and you have the sequence of the elements. And you can read and do the index. And of course, this index you can put in a data warehouse. You can do some kind of updates and save this, do some search, Elasticsearch or Solrs. You can do some ETL transformations, put this in a cache. And of course, you can have something that process the thing. And the output of one stream can be another stream, and you can have like a stream of a stream of stream of stream. So then when I saw this, when I understood what data stream, and because I have a maker experience and I do a lot of things with hardware, I came with the ideas. Do I or can I use the concept of data stream and somehow combine this with IoT and try to explain this in a nice way? So the picture here I try to explain what is data stream. Is the green box on the middle that I have the records in a sequence way. Every new element is appended on the memory structure, the data structure, let's say. You have the producer and the consumer, the blue and the orange box. So the idea is the producer is writing new elements or new records in my data stream, and the consumer is reading. Of course, I can have this in parallel. I can have several producers. I can have several consumers. And majority of the technologies on data streams, the data stay there, so you can read several times and you can always start from beginning again and again. So then I came with the idea. When I saw the data stream, I realized that, this looks like a LED stripe. So can I use a LED stripe to teach data stream funnily and nicely or easy way, or some kind of combining this with the Coded Dojo idea or of the STEAM idea to teach kids or teach teenagers programming and data stuff. It's really common, and there is a lot of projects, a lot of advertisements regarding machine learning on the edge, but not too much talking about data streaming on the edge. And again, this is the idea. So you can do data stream on the edge. And when I talk about the edge, I mean the Kafka, the broker, and the clients on the Raspberry Pi itself or on the board. So this is kind of an autorun of lights that I created a long time ago. So the idea here is every time you have a button, and every time that you push the button, the lights go further. So it's kind of a race, red against green. And then, of course, you can add a lot of things here. You can put this game more complex as ever. Best the one that completes 2 laps 1 and things like that. So I can add Kafka on the top of this. So how I can add Kafka on the top of this? Can I create a dashboard with the laps, with number of clicks per second or velocity or things like that? So then I can create things like that. So anyway, this is a fake-ish Grafana image, but you can have the velocity of number of clicks per second, things like that, and you can add more value for the game. And then when you talk about the Kafka, you have the 3 rows here in my table: number of messages, the size of the message per second, and the megabytes per second. And if you look the first and the last column, you're going to realize that there is not too much a relation. For example, so if I try to send 5 kbytes a message, I'm going to send 1,316 messages a second, and then after a specific time, I will be in average, or I will be sending 42 megabytes. And if you look at the last one, so if I increase the size of the message, so of course I send less messages per second. So 750 kbytes of message, I will only send 11 messages per second, and I end up with 8. But if you look on the middle, for example, 100 of kbyte of size, I have 98 megas per second, and then I end up sending more message. So then here there is a trade-off. First, there is no relation between the columns, and second, there is a trade-off. That's, do you want to send more? You need, or you want to send more messages per second, or you want to send less messages with a bigger value, or you want a better average megabytes per second of reading. So this is a trade-off. But on the top of that, I create a game, and actually I combine this game with the LED race. So the game is, I have a screen, 2 players. So the game is going to show one of the 3 columns as a target. So your target is send 750 message kbyte, or your target is to send 80 megas per second, or your target is to send 11 messages per second. So now that you have the target, you need to feel what you think is going to be the other one. And then when you feel the other one, the 2 players has a web application that shows for 30 seconds, is going to show. You need to send 8 megas per second. So then you need to fill the form for a value for messages and for a value for a number of the size. In 30 seconds, 2 players are going to fill, and then when you do submit, when the 30 seconds finish, what's going to happen is the LED race is going to start, but there is no one pushing the button for the let's go. It's just the calculation the Kafka do is going to fall. So then the result is something like that. So it's a race between blue and red and green, but then it's based on the form that it is. So it's a game based on the thing. And of course, you can combine this with any other ideas. So another idea is the cluster. So we have several Raspberry Pi here, on 5 of them. And then you can put the Blink. Blink-T is a kind of a rat that is the LEDs. And then you can use this for explain things. Each one can be a node, each one can be a topic, each one can be a partition. You can use this for Kafka, you can use it for Docker, you can use it for Apache Spark, you can use it for Apache Flink, you can use it for Akka. Actually, there is thousands of similar ideas. If you Google, you're going to find people explain load balance, people explain a lot of things on the top of that. And the idea is like that. So here I have the master and some workers. And then I can, for example, every time that a new node joins the Kubernetes network, a light blink. The light is blue or green. If it fails, it's amber or red or things like that. Connection is amber, and when connection is green. If it fails, it's red. I can use this for explain the Kafka itself. So new elements, so another light. Imagine that I have 3 different sensors, temperature, humidity, and pressure. So each one has one color. So then I can explain things like that. I can do this. I can use this for simulations. So I can end up with showing some kind of this simulation. If you go on this Software Mill website, you're going to find the website who has the simulation. So this explains how Kafka works behind the scene. So there is 2 topics with replication. He reads an element and then goes for one, replication the others. So I can reproduce this video in that cluster of LEDs. Another crazy idea is the tic-tac-toe game. So here I have a web application that play the game. So I have showing 2 screens, screen A against screen B, and then I can have the data on the Raspberry Pi in real time. But more than that, everything go to a node, everything go to the broker, everything go to the Kafka. So the producer sends the data, and then I can reread that thing. So the sense that I can reproduce whatever player 1 is seeing on the player 2, and whatever player 2 is doing on player 1. And I can have the history of the game, and I can recreate the game. So once the game finished, I have all the movements and all the sequence of events that happens, and I can re-show the game without anyone playing. And again, you can find similar ideas. I saw people doing this with Pac-Man. So the person play Pac-Man, and everything goes to Kafka, and then anytime the person can go there and read everything from Kafka again and replay the game based on the data that is on Kafka. And then you can see graphs like that. So on the top, I have the producers. The producer itself can be different Raspberry Pis. On the middle, I have the Kafka cluster. So I have the follows, the leaders, different nodes. Every box here can be a Raspberry Pi. And then on the bottom, I have the consumers, can be one or several. So I can have like 3 Raspberry Pi on the top, 3 Raspberry in the middle, 3 Raspberry Pi on the bottom. So I can have a cluster with producers, the cluster itself, and the consumers, everything on Raspberry Pi. So I can build Raspberry Pi everywhere. So that is the idea, that Raspberry Pi on the edge. So when I say Raspberry Pi on the edge, it's the client and the broker running on the Raspberry Pi, and can be several. So of course, that I can copy this to a cloud, I can copy this for a specific machine, a local machine, things like that. The concept of cloud here can be, the concept of a broker here can be a lot of things. Can be a machine that I have in my laptop, for example, or can be a node on a cloud provider and things like that. The idea is I have the Raspberry Pi that has the Kafka broker there. So once the data there, I can replicate this anywhere, or I can just consume it from there. Where the data came from can be anywhere, but in the case, I can have the consumer in a Raspberry Pi as well. So read data sensors, read data from the Raspberry Pi, read data from the LED display, the LED stripe, from the weather, from any website and things like that. So consumer, producer, and broker, everything run in Raspberry Pi. So another example that I have here, I have 2 Raspberry Pis. So the left one has the sensor head. It has humidity, pressure, and temperature sensors. And on the right one, I have the JFX LCD display. And they have some buttons on the bottom of the left side. So when I press one button, I show pressure value. The second button shows temperature value, and the third one shows the humidity value. So all the values came from the sensor on the sensor head on the left side, and they are sent to the Kafka. I have a 2-node Kafka broker here, so I have 2 nodes, and all the data is on real time. Another thing is the A-Ink display. So on the top is because I'm in Ireland, in Dublin, so on the bottom one is the Dublin bus information on real time. And on the bottom one is a A-Ink display. It's quite small. And I get the data from the open public API from the government that shows the real time of the data from the bus. And I can display on the ink display on real time. So I get the data, put on Kafka, and then I can read several times and do summarize. This other example here is using a smart bulb and a smart plug. So I create a Spring application that do the switch button. Anyway, I got the CXS and the things on the internet. So when I press the button, I turn on, turn off the data, the bulb and the smart plug and the smart bulb. And then, of course, I have the energy consumption from both in real time on my Kafka, so I can analyze, do some history and things like that. And nowadays, smart devices that are everything in your home. So even my wash machine connects with the internet, my heater and things like that. So I can get the data in real time. So I have smart data everywhere that I can get. Use a Raspberry Pi for collect the data. Put this in a Kafka, so then I have a history and I can do some analysis. I can have graphs and things like that. Another famous concept is the connected vehicles. So Rafael was talking about that I show some cars, so I will try to show something here as well. So connected vehicles, every car has a bunch of sensors. So if you get a Formula 1 car nowadays, they have thousands of sensors, even from tire, for fuel, for everything on the car. So then you have information about the car, who is around you, and you can anyway use this for control the car and maybe pilot automatic way, autonomous car and things like that. So there is a game from Anki. It's called Overdrive. There is Anki Overdrive. There is the Fast and Furious version as well. So it's kind of a toy that is Autorama-ish way. So you have 2 or 3 cars and you control by your mobile or a tablet. You connect the car in a Bluetooth way in your car. And then it's a race. You need more laps in a specific time, and then that's it. And if you go faster, the car goes outside of the circles and things like that. The cars can hit one each other and things like that. But because it's based on Bluetooth, you can use the Raspberry Pi, forget the data from the Bluetooth, translate this and put it in a Kafka copy. So then that is exactly what I did here. So here I'm showing my terminal, so I get the position of the car, velocity, which piece his are, and things like that, space regarding the car. And then you can see the car is just walking slowly in my circuit. So on the things I have the offset. So the offset -68 to +68 is how left or right on the circuit the car is. Then I have the lanes, so 4 to 1. So then I can somehow change the lanes, 1, 4, 2. And then I have, for each part of the circuit, I have the track position. So the first one is 0, 1, 2, 10, 11, 12. So then I know the car is in the start of the track, on the middle, or on the end. So once the car goes and gives 1 lap, I put everything on Kafka, so then I can analyze that thing. So what I can do with that information is, so basically, I can build the map of the circuits. So here is 2 different circuits that I create the map. And then the number is, each track has a specific ID. So the ID can be generic, can be handle, can be in a sequence or whatever. And then you have the specific track, you have the ID of the track, and you know that is a right turn, that is a left turn, or there is a flat, or there is a cross, or things like that. So if you get the second one on the right, you can try to analyze, and you can try to teach the car to go and give the fast lap. So you can do things like that, small things. So when he is on the track ID, I don't know, X, that is the flat out, it should speed up. When it's close to the last one that is turning right, start to brake. And then you can analyze this and try to teach the car. He needs to go and create the best lap. So then you can create another game and can say, I challenge people to play with the mobile or the tablet and beat my car that is going to read the Kafka data and is going to be the best lap on the circuit. You can use techniques for turning. So this is a technique that the pilots use in Formula 1, for example. The green line, the green things that the car follows, so they try to flatten the turn. So then they don't need to slow down too much because they flatten the turn, so they don't need to lose too much energy for do the turn. So you can do this moving the car left and right. So I know if I know that I need to turn right, I need to put my car as left as possible, because then I open and flatten the turn, and then the car can speed up more things. The other thing that we can do is the Anki sell patches that you can add more circuits and increase the things like that. So they have that one that is the cross. So with the cross, I can do some cruisements, and then this is dangerous because the car is can hit each other. I have another thing that is the heads for lights. So unfortunately, the car doesn't have a camera and sensor, so I cannot detect the lights and stop and things like that. But I can analyze the circuit, and I can understand that there is a cruisements in front of me. So here, there is the example that the car knows that the other is going to pass, so he stop and don't hit each other. So the idea that is, you analyze the thing, you have the history of the data, you have the data in real time that is on Kafka, and you can understand, so you stop and you don't hit it there. So that was the idea. I try to explain that combination of Kafka, Raspberry Pi, and Java are the things that those things that you should use. And so think on the Raspberry Pi as a kind of a really nice place to start. So first, it's cheaper. You have versions from $5 to $7. You can By default, you have Java by the official operational system. You can, because it's Linux based, you can install any Linux version, Ubuntu, CentOS, Oracle Linux, and so on. You have Android versions, so you can even play with Android, Kotlin, things like that. You can put OpenJDK. You can play with GraalVM, so you can go for JavaScript, Python, R. You can play with Kotlin, any JVM basic language, Kotlin, Scala, Groovy, and things like that. Comes with Java 11, but you more than open. And if you look on my blog, there is already Java 17, a beta version you can install. If you get the most expensive version or the most powerful version, the Raspberry Pi 4 with 8 gigs, you can run Kafka. Even in the version 3, you can run Kafka. You can create a broker. You can have a cluster of Kafka. So then you can send data, consume data, analyze data, do real-time dashboards, and do things like that. You can play with other things in Java, JBang, JRelease, JavaFX. You can play with web, Micronauts, Kubernetes, Spring, Elidon, Vertex X. If you have the GraalVM, you can do native image on real-time. You can play with Kubernetes. You can play with data stream. So you can have RabbitMQ, you can have Kafka, you can have data stuff, Apache Spark, Apache Flink, Apache Storm, Hive, Pig, Hammer. You can put everything. You can even put everything together. You can do Elasticsearch, Solaris, Neo4j, MongoDB, Cassandra, and really crazy stuff. You can create a cluster of Cassandra. You can create a cluster of Scylla. You can create a cluster of Akka. You can create a cluster of Kubernetes. You can create a cluster of Spark. You can create a cluster of Raspberry Hadoop, a cluster of Kafka, and so on. You can play with Java and all that JVM technologies. You can play with R, Java, Python, any other things. You can even install IDEs, VS Code, IntelliJ, Eclipse, and so on and so on. Small hardware that you can use the GPIOs for do electronic stuff, sensors, LEDs, LED strike, combine data everywhere. You can even try to analyze the data on the edge as well. So that is really main topic, machine learning on the edge. The Raspberry Pi doesn't have too much GPU technology, so you can do some analyze, but not too much. But you can put this on Kafka or on a cloud. You can run the Kafka local as well, can do a lot of things, combine everything. So a really nice tool, let's say, for start playing with technologies. You can explore tests as well. You can do things like I did. I have LCD, so I'm going to create a web application that I draw and goes there. I have a 7x7 LED matrix. I will create a web application that I click and I need a potentiometer, but I don't have one. All right, I will create a web application that simulates a potentiometer. So then I can use that thing for my real stuff. For example, the Duke one with the hands. I can use my web application for control the arm of the Duke. And things like that. So combining this with crazy ideas, combining this with the Coder Dojo idea. If you don't know what is Coder Dojo, coderdojo.com or .org. Organization for teaching STEAM for kids and teenagers, anyone in theory. And then you can teach them programming. You can teach them nice stuff with hardware. You can teach them data structure, data streaming, and data streaming on the edge, plus machine learning on the edge as well. Combination of everything. So the talk here was the idea to show from Java to data stream. So you follow up, you go step by step, have the border, you have Java already, you can install any flavor or version of Java, create a web application, put maybe some data, you can combine with IoT, MQTT, you can use the Bluetooth, you can use the Wi-Fi, any other crazy protocol that you want, maybe install Kafka, put the data there, try to replicate strings, producer, consumer, and things like that. And so I hope I gave a superficial vision of a lot of things. I mean, I know there is a lot of content here. I try to show some nice demos that I created: LCD, graphs, matrix, sensors, the LED stripe, the Anki card, and things like that. So that's it. So thank you again, Rafael. My name is Igor Souza. Currently, I'm software engineer in a data engineer team. So IGFA Souza, you can find me everywhere. So everything that I said here, or everything that I show, all the demos, code, everything you can find on my blog. So igfasouza.com/blog, you can find that thing. If for some reason you find out some that is not there, maybe will be. So deal with me, a little bit of patience, will be there. So I hope you like it, and thank you guys. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Thanks for the amazing talk, Igor. And guys, do you have any questions to Igor? Suresh,
I didn't
Natalia, who else? Victor, Java Journey.
So what I suggest is Google about the first Raspberry Pi Foundation. Just Google about Coder Dojo, and then you're going to have a lot of information to start. Try to buy one. I don't know, depends of the country you are, is going to be more difficult, more easy, or more expensive. And once you have one, play around, start with the Scratch, put the basic operational system. You already have Java 11 by default. You not necessarily need to play with Java. If you like Python, go Python. If you like it, Node.js, go Node.js. If you like it, I don't know, go. If you Java, Python, Go, Node.js, and probably the most trending language, you're going to find something by default. But if you decide, I don't know, Ruby on Rails, PHP, or something more Groovy, Rails, then you need to go more. But I'm not saying it's better or worse, or there is more content or less content. I'm just saying that it doesn't going to came by default, that options. But you're more than happy to go there, find and play around. More than that, try to put Kafka on top, play with data, stream the data in real time.
That's awesome. And you can learn a lot about Kafka, Raspberry Pi, and Java on Igor's blog. I shared his blog with you guys, so you can access his blog. Can you share this dojo link with us, Igor, please?
Yeah, I can.
Because it's challenging for Java developers to go to the Raspberry Pi world. So if we have a way to have...
I put on private chat, sorry.
Nice. So if we have a way to have an easy start, I think that would motivate more developers to understand more.
On the Coder Dojo website, I will send you the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So on the Coder Dojo website, you're going to find free courses of Python, Java, HTML. It's focused on kids. So it's really like easy way, intuitive way to start, but they teach you a lot of things and they are doing really nice stuff.
Would you like to show us quickly how this Coder Dojo works?
Yeah, I can. Let me just share my screen here.
Cool.
And wait, I need to stop this one. Share screen. Can I? Yeah, I can share this one. Can you see me 2 times? Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
So Coder Dojo website. So there is few things that you can do here. You can join one as a volunteer. So if you press on find, it's going to show a map. Then you can find one. You can go there and do a volunteer. So you help teach kids. You don't need to be really expert in things. You can just go there and teach whatever. You don't need to know anything. Just can help to organize, help to clean, help to pay attention of the kids. It's between, I think it's 6 to 16. So anyone in this gap are open and you can go. And so if you go here on resource, you can see that you have a lot of projects in different languages. So you can even see projects. So basic of CSS and crazy ideas. Anyway, how to get the tweet and you can really follow. And anyway, there is different levels. So you can have projects just for Raspberry Pi. You can have projects with Python, Java. I think you can choose the language in a specific place. So yeah, that's it. Let's choose one, for example. So here is going to be a Scratch. Anyway, if you go here, for example, so this one is based on Raspberry Pi. You can see he already redirects you for the Raspberry Pi Foundation. And then one is going to teach you how to create a Twitch bot. So it's going to create a Twitch account. So you can see all the steps, step by step. As I said, it's based for kids. So it's really easy to follow up all the. So he gave you, this is Python. So then a little bit of challenge. Sometimes he put options like, do you want to see the answer or not? You can challenge yourself before see the answer. And then if you follow up on the end, you're going to end up with a Twitter bot or something. Then they suggest how you can improve. So you can make it a Twitch badge. So if you go here, then goes for another tutorial that is going to show like how this Ted Beer can tweet every time that you put your face on front of or something like that. If you have a small kid, it's nice, then you can control your kid by the Ted Beer. Anyway, there is lots of things. It's really nice. So I suggest you guys to go there and pay attention and check it out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing that with us, Igor. And if you have any post that helps Java developers to get started, you can share with us as well. Then I can share with the audience here.
Fair play, fair play. So
Awesome.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is a pleasure to have you here, Igor. I think Natalia has a question for you. Can you see her question, Igor?
The last one. I saw how the Assemble should a timeline. What?
I saw how to assemble such a thing like a weather station.
Yeah, that is my. I think she was talking about in my blog. So one of my blogs is about weather station and Raspberry Pi. So what's the idea behind? So first is the data. You can get the data. As I saw, I have a Raspberry Pi who has temperature, humidity, pressure data. So I can get the data from the sensors, any sensors in the market. Just plug in the pins, and you can have the data. But if I don't have any sensor, I don't have a Raspberry Pi, I can get the data from open APIs. So Yahoo Weather, Google Weather, there is thousands of open. There is a open weather API, a REST interface. You go there and get the data. You can do forecasts. You can check the rain, humidity, wind velocity, and things like that. Okay, so now you resolve the data. So you have the data. You should send the data this for Kafka. Anyway, I'm saying Kafka, but if you want to use RabbitMQ, Spark, Flink, you can use any technology that you want. Kafka and Spark. But you can do with, I don't know, Ruby and any other stream platform. Get the data from the sensor, from the REST interface or the API. So for this, you write your code, open the Raspberry Pi, open the IDE, type your code there. So you're using the Raspberry Pi for everything. If you're reading the data from the sensor, put the code that gets the data from sensor, send for Kafka. Once the data in Kafka, then you can read and do visualizations. You can even show in another LCD, like I showed the example. You can put this data on the cloud. You can analyze the data, use some machine learning. You can play with machine learning on the edge to TensorFlow or micro TensorFlow that runs on Raspberry Pi. Actually, micro TensorFlow came by default on the Raspberry Pi OS. So then you can do some analyze, forecast, things like that. So I hope I answered your question. And on the blog post, I'm talking about infinite. It's an example that is example idea that is infinite, because you can try with Kafka Connect, Kafka Producer. Then you can do some analysis. You can put this on cloud. You can put this using Spring, Micronaut, Quarkus, Vertex, or Eledon. You can use all together. You can remove Kafka and use RabbitMQ. You can remove and put Spark. You can remove and use Flink. You can use Hadoop. You can use MQTT, or you don't use anything. Use the sensor, change the sensor. Get the data from the REST interface APIs. Change the data. So there's thousands of things that you can play around, and then change them, sort them. That's the idea.
Awesome. Yeah, Natalia has a following comment.
You can do a robot. Yeah, definitely. Actually, there is the Kanjan. I can send you the link as well. Kanjan is another, I think came from the Coder Dojo, is the same guys from the Coder Dojo, but it's Cambridge in the UK. And then they have a kit that is less than 20, I think it's $18. And then with $18, you can build the car, and it's a full car. Anyway, as I said, depends of the country that you are, the prices are going to change, but I'm saying the prices in dollars. So around $18, you can have the kit for building your own car. Then you can create the code for the car goes an autonomous way. You can control with mobile. You can control with Kafka. You can replay everything.
Awesome.
That's the idea.
Any other questions, guys? Any other questions, Natalia? Does that answer your question? Suresh, Latson, Victor, Java Journey, Heyroll, Aditya, do you have more questions?
It's what Bruno said. It's the skills that matter. So do several times. The weather example. Do local. Do on the Raspberry Pi. Do on the cloud. Do with sensors. Do using REST interface. Do with Kafka. Do with Splink. Do with and so on, so on, so on. Just do it. And a Raspberry Pi is a small computer that you can erase it and install the operational system again in 5 minutes. So if you broke the operational system, I don't want to install Maven. Like I usually to have Maven 2. If I update for Maven 3, it's going to break my environment. And then it's going to create a lot of problems. Normally, when you have a Python 2 and you update Python 3, you broke a lot of things. So on Raspberry Pi, you have the SD card. Just do it. If it doesn't work, 5 minutes, you do it again. You fail, you learn. Or you can have more than one SD card. You have it, like several instances. Play as whatever you want.
Awesome. Natalia, well, Java Journey is saying, no question, lecture is amazing. Oh, that's awesome. Natalia is also saying, I believe it's better to start controlling with a smartphone.
That's another, then you go mobile. You can do Java, you can do Android, you can do Kotlin, you can try different operational systems, you can just go, keep going, keep doing.
Yeah, and it's also a great way to get better as a software engineer because it's so new. Raspberry Pi is so new, it's very challenging as well.
I think, this is my personal opinion, I think when you have a program and you create an impact. But when you have something that is physical and is hardish, give you another perspective. Like I have the game that is a LED stripe, the LEDs go and everybody, but you understood, like the concept is the same thing. It's just you have a plus that is the hardware. Anyway, give you some a plus. And when you put everything together,
It's beautiful.
yeah,
You see things happening physically with code. It's beautiful.
yeah. The idea of using a LED stripe to teach data structure or teach a kind of, I don't know, you can use for basic data structure, array, how array, or a list, Java list or streams, Java stream, Java 8. You can put the elements there, and then you can explain map, sort, filter, and so on.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Awesome. Amazing session, Igor. I really enjoyed your talk. Amazing content. And now the Java developers know where to get started, and they know a little bit more about Raspberry Pi. And guys, if you want to know more, you can go to Igor's blog, and you can also ask questions for him on Twitter. So he's available there. You can ask questions there. Natalia is saying it takes time for the research. In the end, it can be invention, but who knows?
Yeah, Google is your source.
Exactly. Awesome. So Igor, thanks so much for being here. Guys, you can follow Igor here at F.A. Souza, and you can ask questions to him directly, and you can also access his blog. He's also posting he's doing a new blog post every week, so he's being very consistent, and his main focus is Kafka, Raspberry Pi, and Java. So for you Java developers, this is awesome because you can learn new stuff and be better as software engineers by integrating new technologies such as Raspberry Pi, Kafka, and so on. So you can get and become better.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Before you go, Igor, do you have any special advice for the career of the audience? Any special quote or anything you can share with them to help them in their career?
So yeah, I think is what majority of people say, but keep consistent. First define your goal. Once you have the goal, keep doing, keep consistent. And in my case, I start to share knowledge. I start to share in a consistent way in blogs. I start with no followers, no viewers, no likes, no anything, and grow ups and opens the possibility for a lot of things. People, anyway, famous people start to see my things. People in the niches that I like. So people in Java community, people in Kafka community, people on Raspberry Pi. I think Giuseppe was saying I started like him, like really open, tweeting everything, and then I decided like focus on something. So I define my focus, and then speed up a little bit and be consistent as well, and then keep going. You never know where you're going to end up.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's key, Igor, what you said about consistency. Because when you are consistent, you grow. And I think that's one of the biggest keys to get exponential success in any area in our careers. Awesome. So this is Igor de Souza talking about Raspberry Pi with Java and Kafka. Thanks a lot again, Igor. And I'm really happy to have you here, man.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, Igor.
Bye.
Okay, guys. So now we're gonna have Giuseppe. Giuseppe, yeah, I'm bringing him here. So Giuseppe has an awesome channel about Quarkus and microprofile. He's been sharing a new video every week consistently. And if you really want to learn Quarkus deeply, Giuseppe is the one who will help you. Giuseppe, I think currently is the one who has more content on the internet about Quarkus. So he is the reference, one of the top references to help you to learn Quarkus and get started and to be better as software engineer. Giuseppe, you're very welcome here. Do you want to say hi to the guys, to everyone?
Thank you, Rafael. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Perfect. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Good.
Okay.
So, thank you, Rafael. Thank you so much, and hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here because I can have a talk about Quarkus. So, before that, let me introduce myself very quickly. I'm Giuseppe. I'm Italian. I come from a beautiful city in the north of Italy called Turin. I'm a senior software engineer, Java developer, and right now I live and work in France, in the south of France. And today I want to talk to you about Quarkus. So the first thing, what is Quarkus exactly? So Quarkus is a full-stack Kubernetes native Java framework made for the Java virtual machine and native compilation. So Quarkus, it's a framework, and it has been designed to work with a lot of Java libraries, Java frameworks, and standards that you already know, like for example Hibernate for the that implements the JPA specification, Apache Kafka, the microprofile specification, Apache Camel, and many more. So the official documentation you can find inside quarkus.io, and in this talk I want just to go inside the code because I want to show you how it's very easy to implement a Quarkus application, and we are going to do it together from scratch. So for the time that I have, I decided to show you how to create an application in order to create, read, update, and delete an entity. And we are going to do it with an entity book, for example. So the first thing is we need to bootstrap a Quarkus application. So you can go inside code.quarkus.io. Here it's a beautiful interface because here you can find the latest version of Quarkus, in this case 2.1, and here you can let's say put all the information about your application. So let's start together. The first thing, let's put the group ID. I'm going to put like org.js. The artifact ID, I'm going to put like Quarkus CRUD books. And the build tool, you can decide to use Maven or Gradle. In this case, I decide to use Maven. The version and the started code, because I want to do it from scratch, I prefer to click on no. Here you can see all the dependencies, the Quarkus extension that you can add inside your application, okay? So in our case today, we need the REST-easy JAX-RS because we are going to implement a REST endpoint. The REST-easy JSON-B that include also the REST-easy JSON-P. This one is needed for the JSON binding and JSON processing because we want to consume and produce a list of book. So we want to use the JSON in order to send back and receive the data. And also, you can see here the search bar, we need the Hibernate ORM with Panache. Hibernate ORM with Panache implement the JPA specification in order to access and do the query to the database in a very easy way. And just in a few minutes, I will show you the powerful of this Hibernate ORM with Panache that it's inside Quarkus. So here you can just click on generate your application, download the zip file. Can put it here. Already have it. So I already opened the project in IntelliJ. I don't have any kind of Java file because it's from scratch. You can see here the POM XML. inside ECPOM XML, of course, we have the version of Quarkus and all the dependencies, all the Quarkus extensions that I decided to add. So REST-easy JSON-B, Hibernate ORM, REST-easy, and also I decided to use the JDBC Postgres because I want to use as database Postgres. And then you can see two dependency, two extension from Quarkus. This one is the Quarkus Arc for the context dependency injection and the JUnit 5 for the JUnit test. And those two are, let's say, out of the box when you bootstrap a Quarkus application. So let's start. The first thing, let's create our entity. So I'm going to create a simple Java class book. And oops. Yes, it's a little bit lagging. Okay. So the book, for simplicity, let's put, of course, the ID of the book, the title of the book, right? And then I'm going to put also the author of the book. And for example, the long ESBN number. So because I imported the Hibernate ORM, I can use the annotation entity from JPA, so Java Persistent. And here the ID, I need to specify that this one is the ID of my book, of my table. So I need to use the annotation ID, of course. And I don't want to add the ID. I want to generate, so I can use the strategy, for example, auto, generate type auto. So in this case, when I add a new book inside the database, Hibernate automatically will add the ID to my book. And of course, I can use other annotation, like for example, the column to specify, for example, the length of my title, and also, for example, the unique true. So in this case, I can have two books with the same titles. So let me just add the getter and setter method very quickly. Very good. So here we have our entity. Now in the same package, I'm going to create the book resource, our book endpoint. I'm going to call it book resource. Very good. So to say to Quarkus that this one will be our book endpoint, we need to add the annotation coming from JAX-RS, the annotation path. And of course, we need to put the path. In this case, I'm going to put, for example, book. So here you can see JAX-RS. Of course, what we need to do, we can create different methods. The first method that I'm going to create, it's a method to get all books inside the database. So let me type here public, then get all books, right? Good. So we have two possibilities here. We can send back a list of book, but I prefer to use the object always coming from JAX-RS called response, because in this case I can send back a response, of course, and I can specify the status code of my response, okay, not found, but request, and inside the response also the object that they want to send. Now you can they get all books. Of course, we need to define that this one will be a get method, and in this case we need to add the annotation get. Of course, we want to send back a list of books, so we want to manage a JSON, and here we need to specify that this method will produce a media type, yes, application JSON. Very good. Now, you may wonder, which is the connection between my book resource and the book entity? So we can use the Hibernate ORM with Panache. So let me just create a new Java class. I'm going to call it book repository. And this class must implement the Panache repository pattern here. And we need here to specify, of course, the entity. In our case, book. To inject the book repository inside the book resource here, we need to add the annotation, and we can decide to use the application scope or request scope. In my case here, I decide to use the application scope annotation. So that's it for the book repository. It's just, you can see here there is no methods inside, but in a few minutes I will show you the powerful of this Hibernate ORM with Panache, with this Panache repository. So let me go inside the book resource here, and let me inject our book repository. So in a simple way, inject, and then book repository, I'm going to call it repository. Good. And here we can type just repository dot, and you can see a lot of methods out of the box that we can use. You can use the find by the optional, the find, the persist, the delete, and so on. So it's very powerful and very clean, because using the Panache repository inside Quarkus and so on, we can really manage and create a simple application in an easy way. So in this case, I'm going to use the method list all. You can even decide the order of we can specify here the order. In my case, I'm going to use the list all method, right? So this one will be return a list of book, and now we need to send back this list of book. So as I said before, I'm going to return a response with the status code OK, and inside the response I'm going to send back the books. So that's it. Let me just a little bit refactor here. I can just put this repository.listAll directly here, and you can see here the beauty of this method, because with just one line of code, in a very simple way, we created a method to get all the books inside the database with Quarkus, Panache ORM, Hibernate ORM with Panache, and so on. So now let me create another method similar, just to get a book inside the database by the ID, so specify the ID. So again, I need to use the get, then public response, get book by ID. And of course, here I need to have the ID of this book, so long ID, right? Again, produce media type dot application JSON, and of course I need to, in a certain way, pass this book to this method. So to do that, I need to use the annotation path, and here I need to specify the name of the ID. In this case, it will be ID. So we can just use the /book/ and then the ID. To connect this ID inside the path param with the ID that I'm passing to this function, I need to add the annotation path param. Everything comes from JAX-RS with the same name that I gave you here, so ID. In the same way, you can imagine that I can use the repository, and I can use the find by ID. And then I have my ID. So what I can do here, I can just type if book is different from null, I can return a response with the status code OK, with the book as an object. Otherwise, if the book is null, a response with the status. And here I can specify the status. I'm going to specify the status not found, and then that build. But you can see here that we create this get by ID with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line of code. We can do better. So let me just a little bit refactor. So with the repository dot find, I can use the find by ID optional. Here I can put the ID, right? So this one will be a return optional, And with the powerful of Java, I can here use the map. And here I will have the book if the book has been found. Otherwise, here I will have null value, the book is not found. So the map here is exactly this part, and or else is exactly this part. So you can imagine here that right now, if the book has been found, I can return a response with the status code OK inside the book, right? Or else exactly this part. So a response with the status code not found. Let me put it here. Of course, I need to return everything. So return, I can delete this part. And you can see here with just one line of code, we can again create a new method, getBookById. And you can see here that it's very clean. I mean, you can really read it. Repository. With the repository, I can find the book with a specific ID inside the database. If the book has been found, I can return this book inside a response with the status code OK. Otherwise, I will send back always a response, but without the book because the book has not been found, but I can specify status and the status code will be not found. Very good. Here you can see that I put produce, etc., etc. So I can refactor a little bit this part where I can just put the produce annotation and take the annotation there and put it directly on the top of the book resource. And I can delete it here. Very good. So let's move on. Let me create now just the method in order to add a new book inside the database. For this method, of course, will be a method post with annotation post. And here I need my book, of course. Right. This method will produce an application JSON because I want to send back the book that I created, but I need also to consume a book. So in this case, I can use the annotation and I can put it directly here, consume with media type application JSON. So add new book. As you can imagine, again, I can use the repository dot. What we can have here, we have the persist method where I need to put inside the book. What I want to do now, I want to send a response with a specific status code created if the book has been persistent. Otherwise, a response with a status code, for example, bad request. So to do that, I can use the repository dot is persistent, and here I can put my book. So this one will return a true or false in order to say that this book has been persistent or not. And in the same way, I can type here return persistent and then a response with the status. I'm going to use the created, the 201, where inside I need to put a URI. So I need to use URI.create, and then here I need to put the path of this book. And this one will be /book. So /book, and then the ID of this book, book.getID. Good. Otherwise, here a response with a status bad request. In the same way, here you can see that I can take this line, I can put directly here, and with just 2 lines of code, we create the method to add a new book. Because in this case, we are adding a new entity inside the database, we need to open and close a new transaction. So begin, commit, and close the transaction. Instead of writing inside the method, I can use the annotation transactional, and the annotation transactional will take care to open and close the transaction for us. So just with the annotation transactional. In the same way, so let's create now the method to update a book inside the database. So public response update book. I'm going to update just the title, so string, title. So in the same way here, the annotation put, because it will be a put method. I don't need to specify the consume and produce because I already put on the top of the book resource here. And then I need just to add again the annotation transactional. Again, I can use the repository. So dot in the same way, find by ID optional. Of course, I need to specify the ID, right? So let's put again the ID here with the path as we saw before. Oops, I close the book resource. Yes. So okay, path, and then here I need to put long ID in the same way, and here you can understand that I need to put the path param ID, and then the title. For the title, I will decide to send the title through as a query parameter. So for this case, I need to add here query param, and then I need to specify just the name of the parameter. In this case, I'm going to call it, of course, title. So again, I have the ID, I have the title, and here I can do repository.find by the optional with ID, and then in the same way I can use the map, and I can use the or else. So for the or else, again, I can send back a response with the status not found because my book has not been found. Very good. Dot build. Inside the map, instead, I will have my book. And then what I need to do, I need to just type book.set title, put the right title here, and then just return a response with the status code, in this case, okay, with the book updated. And of course, I need to return all this line. So again, with just one line of code, with a few annotation, we create the method to update our book. Don't forget to put the transactional also in this case. So last but not least, as you can imagine, the method to delete a book inside the database, right? So I'm going to use in the same way the ID. So in the same way, the path param ID. Here I need to specify that it will be deleted. And then again, transactional, and then the path. Right. And the same way I can use the repository dot, and here I have my delete by ID. I need to specify the ID, and the delete by ID will return Boolean, true, false. So in this case, again, I can type here return response dot with status code. Return if my book has been deleted. I can return a response with no content. Dot build. Otherwise, a response with status code, as you can imagine, not found. Very good. In the same way, I forget here to build it. Good. In the same way, here you can imagine that I can just remove this line, put it here, and that's it. So with a really few lines of codes, we implement a simple application with Quarkus in order to get all books inside the database, get a book by ID, add a new book, update a book, or delete a book. So we have our entity book and our repository. So let me just now, I want in this example to use Postgres. So in my case, I already have I'm going to use the Docker image of Postgres. So Postgres 10.5 and my DB, it's called MyDB, on the port 5432. So we need to connect now my application with the database Postgres. To do that, we need to go inside the project, click here on application properties, and here I can type just, let me zoom in a little bit. So Quarkus dot data source dbkind dot data source username Quarkus dot data source password Quarkus dot data source JDBC URL, and finally dot Quarkus Hibernate database generation. So let's start. For the dbkind, I need to put here PostgreSQL. For the username, I put a username when I create when I build the image. Password, I put password. And for the JDBC URL, we need to type JDBC, then Postgres QL, and then localhost, because inside my machine, the port 5432, right? And then the database name, MyDB. And the database generation, I decided to use the drop and create. So each time we start and stop our server, our application, we'll create from scratch the database. So that's it. Now let's open the terminal. I am inside the project here, and let's run it. So let's compile, of course. I'm going to type maven compile Quarkus dev to run the project in development mode. So this one, it's a really, really great feature from Quarkus that I like it so much. So in this case, we are compiling the project. By default, we have a open port in order to debug our application. And with the development mode, it allows us to change any Java class, any Java line of code without stop and restarting again our project. This one is called the live reload. So live reload. Anytime that we need to change our class, our Java class, we don't need to stop and restart again. The server will be doing automatically. And now I'm going to show you in a few minutes. So now it's good. My server is up and running and is sending report 8080. Here you can see a lot of information about my application, the version of Quarkus 2.1.0, and all the dependencies, the Quarkus extension that I install. So for example, Hibernate ORM, Hibernate ORM Panache, the JDBC Postgres, REST-easy, JSONB, and so on. So let's try. Let's go inside the Postman here. Let me put, so I already prepare the get. So here I can http:// post 8080/book. Click on send. Oh, my fault. HTTP. Yes, of course, we receive a response with status code 200 with an empty list, of course. So let's start to create a new book. So the post here, 8080/book. Click here on body, then row, JSON. So you need to put the title, right? The author, and ISBN number, right? So for the title, I'm going to put like the Lord of the Rings. And for the author, I'm going to put Tolkien. I hope I wrote in the right way. And the ISBN. Remember, I don't need to put the ID because the ID will be automatically added, automatically generated by Hibernate. So now click on send. And here I received a response with the status code 201 created. of course, without body. But if you take a look inside the header, here you can see the location or where you can find all the detail about this book. So /book/1, that is exactly what we wrote here related to the method get book by ID. So let me just write, copy, put here, oops, click on send, and here I have my my book, a response with status code 200, okay, with my book. And you can see here the ID. So let's now update this book. I need to specify the ID, and then I need to specify also the title. So title, you can see here, I already put the Lord of the Rings Volume 1. So here will be our path param, and this one, the title will be our query param. So again, path param, query param. So let me try, click on send, and here you can see that I receive my book, so that I receive a response with status code 200 with the title updated. So last but not least, the delete. Before doing the delete, I want to show you the live reload. So let me just change, for example, here, instead of the title, yes, I'm going to put like something else. So let's imagine that now I'm updating the Java class, okay? So I'm going to save it. Here inside the log, you will not see anything. You need to send a request. So in this case, I'm going to send the request of my book. And here you can see now, in a few minutes, the live reload in action. Here you will see always my request that it's ongoing. And here you can see that something happened. So restarting Quarkus due to change in book resource.class, because we change our book resource.java. And it said the live reload took more than 5 seconds and some other information. Okay, so without stopping and restarting the server, I changed just one line. In this case, I put update here. And the live reload with the development mode took action. So because I put the drop and create, I need to recreate I need to add again my book inside the database. So let me click here on send. Okay, let me check. I have my book. Very good. Let now the update again. Why not? To see the okay. So you can see right now that I have the Lord of the Rings Volume 1, and then the script string updated, because I put it here just to show you the live reload in action. And now let's delete our book. Oops. Oh, I'm going to type localhost book. And then I need to specify the ID 1, click on send, and I receive a response with the status code 204, no content. Okay, if I will try it again, for example, I will receive a response with the status code 404, not found. So you can see how it's very simple, and I can also say elegant to write an application with Quarkus. It's almost right now 2 years that I work with Quarkus. I really love this framework, and because of that, I decided to share my knowledge about Quarkus, and I decided to open a YouTube channel that you can find with my name, Giuseppe Scaramuzzino, where my focus phrase at this one it helped me a lot to think about and get clarity about this focus phrase during the mentorship program. So helping Java developers to go cloud native. Inside my YouTube channel, you can find different tutorials related to Java, Quarkus, of course. I have a dedicated playlist where you can check this out, all the tutorial. I talk about also cloud, Docker, and so on. So during the mentorship program, what I learned a lot of things. and I apply a lot of things for my YouTube channel, for my my career path. But a lot of them, what I learned is that it's important the consistency. So I since now 4 months, I publish one video a week, one video every Saturday afternoon. So this one is the consistent that I learned during the mentorship program. Trust the process. So trust that what I was doing, what I'm doing in a certain way, it's something good, something that make impact to other. Focus. So instead of talk about or create tutorial about different technology, frameworks, etc. Like, I don't know, I want to talk about Angular, I want to talk about React, I want to talk about Kafka or something like that. I prefer to be focused. So I like very much the cloud, everything that it's around the cloud native. So in my YouTube channels, focusing on cloud native with a great framework, Quarkus, helping Java developer. This is how I built my focus phrase. And what I really learned, how to share my knowledge. So how to give a talk, for example, today, or how to share my knowledge on the social media, and also how to create all the video. So you can check my YouTube channel. If you want, you can subscribe. And of course, if you have any question, so feel free to contact me. I'm pretty much everywhere. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on GitHub. This is important because you can find in GitHub the source code of each video. So when I learn something new related to Quarkus or Cloud Native, I push the code on GitHub. So feel free to take a look, clone it. You can find me also on LinkedIn. You can connect me with me also on LinkedIn, and you can find me also on Instagram. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you so much, Rafael, for what you have done, for the help during all this great journey where I learned a lot. I owe you a lot.
Thanks a lot for your kind words, Giuseppe.
So today I'm really sad and I'm really happy. So I'm really sad because it's the last session with you. It's sad, you know. But in the end, I'm happy because it's the end of a journey to open a new one, let's say.
Exactly, yeah. And don't worry, because after finishing the mentorship, we also have a friendship. So
yeah, for sure.
It doesn't end here. It's just the end of this cycle. But like you said, there will be other cycles. So that's good. That's evolution.
Yeah.
Awesome. So really awesome talk, Giuseppe. And there are questions for you here. There is one question from Suresh. What is the advantage of native image? Will it not be running in JVM?
For the memory footprint, for sure. Because with the native compilation, you have less memory footprint. And this is good if you think about going to the cloud. So meaning that in terms of resources and so on, because when you go, when you deploy in the cloud, you need to think that you pay what you are using. So you need to think about that before taking any decision. And that's it.
Okay, great. There is another question here from Victor. Would you recommend using Spring module of Quarkus in a way of minimize the transition from Spring Boot projects, or just go for a pure Quarkus project right away?
It depends, meaning that if it's something that it's related to some personal project, I recommend you to start from scratch, because first I can really learn from scratch how to build a Quarkus application, even if the application is a little bit complex, but it's yours, okay? Instead, if you need to make the transition for a project at work, and I know that really depends on a lot of factors, I know that because Quarkus is supported by Red Hat, I know that there are a lot of not migration tool, but guide that you can see in order to migrate your application in a very smooth way from Spring to Quarkus. For the moment, I never get the chance to take a look because I migrate an application from Turntail that was the previous framework supported by Red Hat to Quarkus. Both of them are implement the macro-profile specification, so it was very easy, the migration. I never done the Spring, but in my to-do list for the YouTube channel, I would like to take a Spring Boot application and try to migrate in Quarkus in 2 ways, so from scratch, building bit by bit, or for example, with all the modules that I can find online in order to migrate it.
Great. Victor, let us know if that answers your question.
Yeah.
Suresh says thank you.
You're welcome.
And guys, do you have any more questions for Giuseppe? Now it's the time to ask Giuseppe.
Otherwise, if you think about other questions later, you can reach me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or GitHub, wherever you want. I'm open.
Exactly. You can also access Giuseppe's YouTube channel. I shared with you guys. Yeah, Victor saying grazie. Okay, awesome.
So what time is it? It's in 5 minutes. I'm going to publish a new video because every Saturday. This one I learned from the mentorship program.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. For those who joined the talk now, Giuseppe did the Challenger Developer Mentorship. So that's why he mentioned what was crucial for his career and for starting sharing his knowledge and causing impact for the Java community. So that's why he mentioned that. Okay, awesome. So I'm shared here Giuseppe's channel. So if you want to watch Giuseppe's explanation about Quarkus, you can get started there. Giuseppe, like as you saw here in his talk, he explains in a very clear and concise way. And in his videos, of course, is the same level of quality. So you're gonna find high quality videos with high quality explanation there. So it's an easy way to get started with Quarkus. Don't need to go through the whole documentation because Giuseppe did that for you already. So that's a great way to also get Quarkus more popular in the market because we know it's a very powerful tool for us to create microservices. I would even say that it can, in a near future, maybe even beat Spring. So it has high potential. So awesome then. Giuseppe, do you have a quote or any advice for the audience to help them in their career?
Yeah, for sure. So already shared inside the slides, but get clarity on what you want to achieve and trust the process. So first, get clarity. So decide on what you focus, and then no matter what, trust the process. Even if you don't feel to do what you need to do to achieve the goals. So this one I learned from the mentorship program. Trust the process.
Yeah, because in the beginning it might be even a bit boring to share your knowledge because you might not have engagement, you might not have a lot of people watching your content. But what Giuseppe is saying here is to trust this process of sharing your content consistently so that you can gain traction and then you can get visibility with your message. And then by doing that, of course, by consequence, your career will grow. You're going to grow in your career like by doing that. So it's a very powerful move because once you share your knowledge, you're going to be helping people, and we're going to be also filling out the gaps for your knowledge. So the more you share something, the better you get. Sometimes you think you know something until the time you have to explain that and you don't know how to explain that. So to explain something, to teach something to someone else is the ultimate way to learn. Then you really learn whatever you are studying, whatever you want to teach others.
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being here, Giuseppe.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed the talk. I really enjoyed to see how powerful and how simple Quarkus is. And thanks for helping the Java community with your amazing videos. They are so simple to follow. And that's a huge help for the Java community. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much, Rafael.
Awesome. So that's it then. I think that's we reached at the end of our special session, and I'm gonna give you a final announcement, guys. So if you want to get the Golden Lessons book, and if you want to have a career conversation with me, a one-to-one conversation, let me give you the link here. So this is the Golden Lessons book. So you're gonna have this one-to-one conversation about career. I'm gonna share an easier link here. So basically by accessing this PayPal link, I'm gonna be sending to you the Golden Lessons book, and I'm gonna be sending to you a link to schedule a one-to-one conversation with me. And then I'm gonna be talking about your career and how to get clarity. And I'm gonna be talking about the next steps that you can take to take your career to a whole new level. So this is the link I sent to you here. It's shortened, but it's basically a PayPal link. Then once you do the investment, it's a very small investment, like €4. And then once I see you are taking action, then I can help you. So if you are an action taker, now it's the time to take the action. That's the last time you will be able to take this action to have this one-to-one conversation with me. So the value of the one-to-one conversation would be around €200, and the Golden Lessons book is €10 in the Amazon.com website, and you can have the conversation and the Golden Lessons book only for €3.99. So just access this link, and you take the action, and then okay, I will see that you're an action taker, and then we can talk about your career. So don't miss out on this opportunity. And the Java Journey is saying here, thanks for talking. You opened my mind to Quarkus. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Java Journey. And guys, if you have any questions about your career, now it's the time to ask. I'm open to answer any questions about your career. Or if you have any other questions about Quarkus, feel free to ask for me and for Giuseppe, sorry. So if you have any questions for me or for Giuseppe, now it's the time. Otherwise, I will close this session here. And again, thanks a lot for being here, Giuseppe. It was a really cool talk, and there's a lot more in your channel. and I shared here with everyone. Natalia is saying thanks for the advice, and thanks for the great community. Yeah, thanks, Natalia, to be here. Appreciate to see you here again. And do you have anything else to say, Giuseppe, or?
No, I'm good. I'm good. So thanks again, Rafael. And I mean, don't miss the opportunity to start the mentorship with Rafael. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for your words, Giuseppe, and thanks for the audience. And that's pretty much it. I see you in another opportunity then.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.